Chapter 786. Forget it. Lin Jiej sneered coldly. I'm not that easy to deal with. Do you really think that I'll let you off just like that? Dream on. What else do you want then? You can't possibly run over to argue with them, can you? Besides, it's not like you haven't heard of this saying before. If a dog bites you, are you going to bite it back? Of course not. Hearing Lin Jiej's reply, Shi Yao was just about to refute him. But before she could say anything, Lin Jiej spoke up once more, of course I'll fight back. Shi Yao didn't know whether to laugh or cry. A moment later, seeing that the young man's complexion was still as awful as ever, she reached out to tug on his pinky finger and said, All right, you're talking about me, so why do you look even angrier than me? Lin Jiej's expression softened a little, but his eyes were still frighteningly cold. Left with no choice, Shi Yao tugged on Lin Jiej's pinky finger once more and shook it lightly. Her voice grew even softer as she said, Even though I wasn't too happy in the afternoon, and I even blamed you for being a femme fatale, I was still quite happy in the end. So, look, I'm fine now, so don't be angry anymore. All right. Lin Jiej's expression eventually softened, and his anger dissipated under Shi Yao's words. In the end, he opened up his arms and said, Come, let me hug you. Shi Yao's face reddened upon hearing Lin Jiej's abrupt change in topic. She looked around, and seeing that there were quite a few students running around, she whispered, There are so many people watching us, I can't wait for the entire world to see us, Lin Jiej said as he pulled Shi Yao into his embrace. He hugged her for a moment before lowering his head. Knowing what he was going to do, Shi Yao tilted her head away slightly and said, Lin Jiej, don't push your luck. All right, I won't push my luck, I'll push my luck. Lin Jiej said as he pressed his lips against Shi Yao's. I won't push my luck, I'll push my luck. In other words, I'm not just going to kiss you, I'm going to do something even more outrageous. The redness on Shi Yao's face deepened, and she couldn't help but raise her hand to pinch Lin Jiej's waist. The young man didn't dodge her forceful grip, and his kiss deepened instead. Half an hour later, Lin Jiej escorted Shi Yao back to the female dormitory. He waited for her to enter the female dormitory before returning to the male dormitory. That afternoon, he immediately told Lu Benlai and Xia Shangzhou about the matter through WeChat and told them to tag along. The one who was the most excited upon hearing this news was none other than Lu Benlai, who was going to meet his future girlfriend. As such, as soon as Lin Jiej entered the dormitory room, Lu Benlai immediately pulled out a chair for him and poured him a cup of water. Xia Shangzhou, who was lying on the bed, chuckled when he saw this scene. Lu Benlai didn't mind Xia Shangzhou's sarcasm in the slightest. After Lin Jiej had settled into his seat, he even ran up to him and massaged his back. Boss, are you feeling unwell? Just tell me, I promise to serve you until you're comfortable. Xia Shangzhou put on an expression that said he couldn't bear to look at Lin Jiej as he pulled the blanket over his face. But before Lu Benlai could continue massaging him, Lin Jiej waved his hand and said, I'll go take a bath first. Lu Benlai, boss, I'll prepare some hot water for you. Thank you, but there's no need for that. Lin Jiej stood up and grabbed a towel and pajamas. All right then. Boss, feel free to tell me what you need. Lu Benlai said as a thought suddenly came to his mind. He ran over to his table and passed a box over to Lin Jiej. Boss, this is a gift that old Xia and I pooled our money together to buy for you. The box was wrapped in a paper bag. Lin Jiej took it from Lu Benlai and opened it to take a look before swiftly closing the bag and tossing it back onto the table. Boss, aren't old Xia and I especially considerate? Ignoring Lu Benlai's words, Lin Jiej began making his way to the bathroom. Boss, what's with your reaction? Don't tell me that you didn't need it for the 2 nights we went to the hot spring. Hearing those words, Lin Jiej's footsteps halted. Do you think that one box is enough? before heading into the bathroom. Chapter 787. Lu Benlai, boss, it's a box of 4. 4. You should know that it's only for 2 nights. 2 nights. Xie Shangzhou, who had been silent all this while, also spoke up, boss, even if you're really capable, you must restrain yourself. Overindulgence will harm your body. What do you mean by even if I'm really capable? I'm clearly capable. Lin Jiej couldn't be bothered to listen to the two fellows' screams, so he locked the bathroom door from the inside. While he was showering, Lin Jiej couldn't help but recall the gift that Lu Benlai and Xie Shangzhou had pooled their money to buy for him to end his single life, a box of birth control products. Honestly speaking, he had been too preoccupied with slapping those 3 women's faces that he hadn't thought too much about anything else. It was only when Lu Benlai passed him the box of birth control products that he remembered that they would have to stay in the suburbs for 2 nights to enjoy the hot spring. But given that they were already in a relationship, he and Softbun should be staying together for these 2 nights. As much as he wanted to stay together with her, he didn't dare to hope that it would happen so soon. Besides, she was already his girlfriend now. If they were to really stay together, he couldn't guarantee that he wouldn't do anything to her. Lin Jiej, who didn't have any other thoughts in his mind, suddenly felt an inexplicable sense of nervousness toward the hot spring. Amidst the nervousness, there was also a hint of anticipation. When Shuyao returned to her dormitory room, she realized that Leng Wan, He Tian, and Jiang Yu weren't back yet. It's already past 10, and the shopping mall should be closed by now. Shuyao frowned. Still worried, she picked up her phone and sent a message to the dormitory room's WeChat group. He Tian was probably playing with her phone at the moment because she instantly replied to her message, saying that she was already at the entrance of the school. Seeing that they were fine, Shuyao put down her phone and went to shower. Halfway through her shower, Shuyao heard some commotion outside, and she knew that Leng Wan and the others had returned. By the time she finished her shower and came out of the bathroom, Leng Wan and the other 2 had already changed into their pajamas. They were busy with their own things, reading books and watching dramas. As Shuyao dried her hair, she couldn't help but ask curiously, "What did the 3 of you go shopping for? It took you so long to come back." He Tian asked mysteriously, "Why don't you take a guess?" "How could I have guessed that?" Shuyao pouted as she picked up the hairdryer and began drying her hair. Jiang Yu and He Tian didn't say a word anymore, but the 2 of them were conversing furtively with one another. From time to time, they would even let out a sinister chuckle. Even Leng Wan, who usually didn't like to fool around with them, couldn't help but smile from time to time. Of course, Shuyao could tell that the 3 of them must have done something behind her back. Seeing that they weren't going to talk about it, she put down the hairdryer, turned around, and glared at them angrily. "I'm going to get angry if you don't tell me." I'll tell you, He Tian said as she glanced at Jiang Yu. Jiang Yu immediately took out a bag of teenage girl powder from her bed and passed it to Shuyao. "Actually, we didn't hide anything from you. We went shopping earlier tonight, and we bought these." Leng Wan closed the book. "This is for you. It's a gift for you to end your single life. A gift for getting out of singlehood." Did they go shopping to buy her a present? "Is it delicious?" Shuyao subconsciously asked. Seeing that the 3 of them were staring at her with a hint of danger on their faces, she took the initiative to open the bag and said, "I knew that the 3 of you treat me the best." Before Shuyao could finish her words, she was already petrified by the first gift that she opened. Chapter 788. Before Shuyao could finish her words, she suddenly froze as she stared at the first gift in front of her. It was a small pink panty. The main point wasn't the panty or the color of the panty. The main point was that the material of the panty was extremely thin, so thin that it was negligible. To put it simply, Xiao felt that there wasn't much of a difference between wearing the panty and not wearing it. The three of them, gave her a present to get rid of the single, and this was it. Xiao held the panty in one hand and froze for a moment before she finally recovered from her daze. In the next second, she threw the panty at Jiang Yu's face and bellowed, Why you're going overboard. Jiang Yu pulled the panty off her face and said, Yao, tell me, how did we go overboard? He Tian, that's right. Yao, this is a token of our sincerity. How can you say that we went overboard? My heart hurts. Xiao was rendered speechless by He Tian's words. With a reddened face, she glared at Jiang Yu and He Tian, who were carefully folding the panties she had thrown earlier. Stomping her feet, she couldn't think of anything else to say, so she repeated her words once more, I don't care. The two of you are going overboard, and you're going overboard. Jiang Yu, all right. Even if you don't like this one, why don't you take a look at the others? Xiao glared at Jiang Yu and He Tian before lowering her head and continuing to open the other gifts. This time, it was a black lace negligee, just like the panty from before. It was made of see-through material. But of course, this wasn't the main point. The main point was that the negligee was paired with a pair of silk stockings. Even though Xiao had never paid attention to such things before, she still knew about them. This wasn't a negligee at all. It was clearly a kinky lingerie. This was even more overboard than the panty from before. This time, Xiao wasn't as impatient as before. She casually placed the nightgown on the table before moving on to open the remaining paper bags. The third time she opened it, it was still a set of clothes. This time, there was more material, but it was a nurse's uniform. The fourth time she opened it, it was a school uniform. What was going on? After unwrapping the gifts, Xiao stuffed the clothes back into the bag before tossing them onto He Tian's bed and said, Bao rejects your kind intentions, and I'll send each of you a pair of rolling eyes. He Tian picked up the clothes scattered all over her bed and said, Yao, how can you reject our goodwill? Don't you know that this brand of clothing is very expensive? Jiang Yu said, That's right. We can't even bear to buy such expensive clothes for ourselves, but we ended up buying them for you. Aren't you wasting our money by refusing to accept them? Xiao, if you think it's a waste, you can wear it. Doesn't that mean I don't have anyone to wear it on? If there is, I will definitely wear it. As He Tian spoke, she picked up the nurse uniform and gestured it in front of her. Yao, look at how beautiful this uniform is. If you put it on, I guarantee that you'll be a feast for the eyes. Tisk. Xiao scoffed. I'm not an ice cream ball, so why should I be a feast for the eyes? Chapter 789. He Tian nodded vehemently and chimed in, That's right, Yao. Isn't that your favorite food? The reason why we're giving you these things is to cater to your tastes. We're giving you a feast. Feast. Xiao's eyes lit up, and her interest was piqued. What feast? How many dishes? Is there my favorite Haagen-Dazs ice cream? Ah. Jiang Yu hesitated for a moment before replying. If that's the case, I guess you'll have to ask the main character himself. He Tian, that's right, we really don't know how many dishes there are. You'll have to see if the feast is good or not and how many dishes it can give you. The more Xiao listened, the more confused she became. Before He Tian could finish her words, she had already interjected, Wait a moment. I don't quite understand what you're talking about. What kind of secret language are the two of you talking about? Why do I feel a chill running down my spine? Also, what do you mean by the feast itself? What in the world is the feast? It's Lin Jiej. Ling Wan, who had been silently watching the three of them chatting, suddenly interjected. What? The feast is Lin Jiej. As these words left Yao's mouth, the words, the main course is Lin Jiej, flashed through her mind once more before she abruptly came back to her senses. So, when Tian said that she would cater to my tastes and give me a feast, she was referring to Lin Jiej. And the latter part of Tian's words about whether the feast is good or not and how many dishes it can give me. This is clearly hinting at the thing between me and Lin Jiej. A warm sensation spread from Yao's cheeks to her ears, all the way down to her collarbone. Jiang Yu. Tian. Why you're too dirty. Why you. Halfway through her words, Yao found herself at a loss for words. In the end, she could only stomp on the floor anxiously. Then, she recalled that the last person to respond to her words was Leng Wan. She turned to look at Leng Wan and said, Nuan, why are you fooling around with them too? Jiang Yu interjected, Yao, Tian, and I forgot to tell you that Nuan was the one who suggested this gift. Tian, that's right, yeah, and I are just following her instructions. Yao stared at Leng Wan in disbelief. Leng Wan widened her eyes in shock. Nuan, you. In contrast to Yao's shyness and anxiety, Leng Wan was much calmer. She placed the book she was reading back onto the bookshelf before slowly straightening her back. Looking back into Yao's eyes, she asked calmly, Yao, are you really together with Senior Lin? It was just a simple question, but it caused Yao's heart to deflate like a balloon, and she fell silent. She couldn't understand why Leng Wan would suddenly ask her such a question. She blinked her eyes at Leng Wan and pondered for a moment, but she couldn't figure out why Leng Wan would ask her such a question. In the end, she could only nod her head and answer Leng Wan's question honestly, of course. Is it a lifetime of sincerity? Why would Leng Wan suddenly ask her such a weird question? Yao was getting more and more confused. However, she could see the seriousness in Leng Wan's eyes, so she pondered for a moment before replying with a on. Chapter 790. That's good enough. Since it's a lifelong relationship, it's only a matter of time before the two of you get together. You can't possibly think that you're just primary school students, and that your relationship will be as simple as holding hands, right? Leng Wan's voice was as calm as ever, devoid of any emotion. However, even though her voice wasn't loud, her emotionless words struck Yao's ears like a bolt of lightning, jolting her out of her reverie. Indeed. She had been too busy bickering with Tian and Jiang Yu to think about such things. It was only after hearing Leng Wan's words that she finally came to her senses. Indeed, she and Lin Jiej were going to soak in the hot spring over the weekend, and they were going to stay outside for 2 nights. Then, those 2 nights, Leng Wan, who had been paying close attention to Yao's expression, knew that she had woken her up, so she spoke up once more, it's Friday the day after tomorrow, and we're going to soak in the hot spring. Yao, you can't be thinking that Senior Lin is just asking you to soak in the hot spring, right? If the two of you were to stay in the same room and he were to do something to you, surely you wouldn't reject him. Hearing those words, Jiang Yu couldn't help but nod in agreement, that's right. Yao, you and Senior Lin are both adults now. Since you've already acknowledged him, and he's acknowledged you, it's only a matter of time before the two of you take that step. Tian, that's why we wanted to give you these presents so that you can have a beautiful memory of your first night with Senior Lin. Recovering from her daze, Yao muttered softly, I just didn't think too much about it. After a moment of silence, Yao spoke up once more, revealing her worries. Besides, how long has it been since I got together with Lin Jiej? Isn't it a little too fast for us to progress like this? Tian, ha. If this is considered fast, then what about those who sleep with each other on the first day? How long has it been since you and Senior Lin got together? How can you say that it's fast? If you continue wasting time, other people's grandchildren will already be born, but your son still hasn't. As Jiangyu spoke, she shoved the pile of thin clothes into Yao's embrace and said, "All right, I'm going to take a shower." After Jiangyu entered the washroom, Tian recalled that she had to head to the neighboring dormitory to retrieve the package her classmate had brought back for her, so she left the dormitory as well. In an instant, only Yao and Leng Nuan were left in the room. Leng Nuan switched to another book and flipped to the first page. Just as she was about to start reading, she caught sight of Yao from the corner of her eyes, who was carrying the clothes that Jiangyu had stuffed into her hands with a contemplative look on her face. After a moment of hesitation, she turned around and said, Yao, there are some things that you should just follow your heart." Yao shot a glance at Leng Nuan silently. Leng Nuan fell silent as she turned her gaze back to the book. Although she stared at the dense mass of words on the paper, she couldn't understand a single word. She wasn't a busybody, and Yao was probably the first time in her life that she had ever poked her nose into someone else's business. Chapter 791. So, when she witnessed the little things that happened between Yao and Lin Jiej, she felt as if she was seeing the fantasies that she had once dreamed of. This was also the reason why she did everything in her power to help them, willing to help them regardless of anything in return. Because she felt as if she had fulfilled her dream. However, she knew that it was just a fantasy, and it would never come true. It was just like how she would never dare to dream such an extravagant dream ever again. With this thought in mind, Lu Benlai suddenly flashed across Leng Nuan's mind. But it only took an instant for Leng Nuan to snap out of her daze. Then, as if she hadn't been in a daze at all, she focused all of her attention on her book. After listening to Leng Nuan's words, Yao didn't continue daydreaming. Instead, she stuffed the clothes they had given her into the closet and climbed onto her bed. Not too long after she laid on the bed, she felt her phone vibrating by the side of her pillow. She picked up her phone and took a look at the screen. It was a message from Lin Jiej. Yao, let's drive 2 cars over on Friday. I'll be in one with you, and the 5 of them will be in the other. Is that all right? Yao didn't have a problem with that. Sure. I have a client I need to meet that afternoon. I'll be free by 3, so we'll set off at 4. I'm fine with anything. On the first night we arrive, shall we have a barbecue? I'll have the people at the hot spring prepare the tools and ingredients for us, and we'll barbecue ourselves. Sure. Since it was Yao's favorite activity, she replied with 2 consecutive messages. I want to eat chicken wings. Sure. I'll book a room when I call tomorrow. Seeing Lin Jiej's message, Yao was just about to reply with an emoji, but before she could find the emoji she wanted to reply to, another message popped up on her phone. Yao. It was just 2 words. However, Yao knew that Lin Jiej had something else to say. She waited for around half a minute before her phone lit up once more. Lin Jiej had sent another message. Do you want to stay with me? Do you want to stay with me? Of course, Yao knew the true meaning behind those words. Frankly speaking, she was indeed unprepared. However, when she thought about it carefully, it seemed like she did not need to prepare anything. Because no matter if it was now or in the future, as long as this day came, she would be as nervous as she was now. Leng Nuan and the others were right. The 2 of them weren't playing house. Their relationship wasn't as simple as holding hands. She liked him, and he liked her too. She didn't reject having that kind of relationship with him, because to her, if she really had a relationship with a man in this life, that man would be him, so she really didn't have anything to worry about. Just like what Nuanyuan said, she just had to follow her heart. With this thought in mind, Yao raised her finger and tapped on the screen twice. She stared at the words she had typed for a moment before sending it out with a hint of embarrassment, and perhaps it was because she took too long to reply to his message, but Lin Jiej couldn't wait any longer. It was a long while after Shi Yao sent her message that she finally received a reply from Lin Jiej. Yao Yao, do you know, what does your reply mean? Without any hesitation, Shi Yao replied, I know. In the blink of an eye, it was Friday. Chapter 792. In the blink of an eye, it was already Friday. Shi Yao only had classes in the morning, so it was only 1 in the afternoon by the time she returned to the dormitory room. There were still around 3 hours before the departure time that Lin Jiej had mentioned. Seeing that it was still early, Shi Yao had intended to take an afternoon nap. However, as she lay on the bed and closed her eyes, she couldn't help but think about what was going to happen tonight since she was going to be staying with Lin Jiej. She couldn't help but feel extremely nervous, and even a little bit of anticipation. Anticipation. Shi Yao buried her head in her blanket and discreetly rubbed her face. Isn't it a little too shameless of me to be anticipating something like this? Shi Yao tossed and turned on her bed for nearly an hour, but she was still unable to fall asleep. In the end, she could only climb out of bed and pack her clothes for the trip. As soon as she opened the closet, she saw the shameful clothes that Lang Yuan and the others had given her. She stole a few glances at them before swiftly hiding them under her clothes and starting to pack her clothes. It was only 2 days, so she only took a change of clothes and a pair of socks. While she was looking for undergarments, she suddenly stared at the colorful undergarments in the storage box and felt conflicted. There was no way she could wear the clothes that Lang Yuan and the others had given her. But, shouldn't she at least take 2 sets of beautiful undergarments? Just that, staring at the undergarments, Shi Yao pondered for a moment before climbing onto her bed with the storage box. She pulled the curtains over her bed and hid inside. She turned on her phone's flashlight before placing the undergarments on the bed to examine them. However, before Shi Yao could make a decision, her phone suddenly received a call. She took a look at the screen and saw that it was a WeChat video call from Lin Jiej. She didn't think too much about it and accepted the call. As she stared at the pile of undergarments on the bed, she casually asked, "Didn't you say that you have a meeting?" I'll be there soon." Lin Jiej seemed to be busy, so his reply was a little absent-minded. Shi Yao subconsciously raised her head to look at her phone, and as expected, Lin Jiej's head was slightly lowered, seemingly in the midst of reading a document. Afraid that she would disrupt Lin Jiej's work, Shi Yao said, "Hurry up and head to the meeting then." "Well, I haven't given you a good afternoon, have I?" If Lin Jiej hadn't brought it up, Shi Yao wouldn't have noticed it at all. However, now that he mentioned it, it suddenly occurred to her that it did seem to be the case. 3 times a day, regardless of whether he was busy or not, Lin Jiej would always make some time to give her a call. Shi Yao felt a surge of sweetness in her heart, but she stubbornly replied half-jokingly, "Is saying good afternoon to me more important than having a meeting?" "Of course, is there a need to ask? My girlfriend is the most important thing in the world." Lin Jiej replied confidently without any hesitation. "My girlfriend is the most important thing in the world." Shi Yao couldn't help but chuckle inwardly. However, before she could reply to Lin Jiej's words, Lin Jiej had already asked, "Why is it so dark down there?" "I'm going to sleep now." Shi Yao came up with a random excuse. But before she could finish her excuse, she noticed that Lin Jiej's eyes were fixed on a certain spot on the screen. Chapter 793. As if a hot potato, Shi Yao tossed her phone to the side in the next second. Shi Yao tried her best to calm herself down. Just as she was about to urge Lin Jiej to head to the meeting and end the video call, Lin Jiej's slightly amused voice suddenly sounded from the other end, "Yao Yao, why are you laying out a bed of underwear?" Shi Yao stammered guiltily for a moment before replying. I'm sorting out my clothes. Oh. Lin Jiej replied calmly, as if he believed her. But 3 seconds later, Lin Jiej spoke up once more. I thought that you were picking out underwear for tonight. Having her thoughts exposed, Shi Yao's body shuddered. Is Lin Jiej a roundworm in my stomach? To think that he would be able to guess it. However, even though she hadn't spent much time with Lin Jiej, she had still learned quite a few tricks from him, and she had learned a few tricks up her sleeve. Thus, it didn't take long for her to calm down. Blinking her eyes, she replied as innocently as she could, why would I choose underwear for tonight? That's true. There's indeed no need for it. After all, you'll have to take it off anyway. Besides, I prefer you naked. Loser, loser. Can't I admit defeat? If I can't beat you, I'll just run away, right? With such thoughts in mind, Shi Yao said, please head to the meeting. I don't want to talk to you anymore. I need to go to the toilet. After saying those words, without waiting for Lin Jiej's response, Shi Yao hung up the video call. With Lin Jiej's interruption, Shi Yao was no longer in the mood to pick out her underwear. She hurriedly stuffed the underwear into her storage box. Halfway through, her phone lit up. It was a WeChat message from Lin Jiej. I like that pink one and that white one. Oh, the black one on the far right isn't bad too. The dark green one at the bottom looks pretty good too. Woo woo woo. My boyfriend is too hateful. Is it too late to return them now? Shi Yao clutched her chest before replying. What a coincidence. I don't like the ones you like. At 4 in the afternoon, Shi Yao received a call from Lin Jiej punctually, saying that he was already waiting at the school gates. Shi Yao, Ling Wan, He Tian, and Jiang Yu quickly rushed out of the room. Lin Jiej was driving his daily car whereas Xie Shangzhou was driving a MPV. According to Lin Jiej's arrangement, Shi Yao would be with him while the others would be with him. After which, they would split into 2 groups and head toward the hot spring villa in the northern suburbs. When they arrived at the hot spring resort, it was already 6:30 in the evening, just about time for dinner. The staff of the hot spring villa had already prepared the barbecue buffet that Lin Jiej had suggested. After checking in, they headed straight to the garden of the hot spring villa to enjoy the barbecue buffet. On the way here, in Xie Shangzhou's car, the 5 of them had come to an agreement. In order to give the 2 of them more personal space, they would chat for a while after dinner before finding an excuse to leave. In fact, they had even come up with an excuse on the way here. However, in reality, they thought too much. This was because they could no longer sit still before they finished the barbecue. Chapter 794. While Guan Yaoyao was eating the chicken wings, Lin Jiej hurriedly ran over to grill the chicken wings and placed the skewers on a plate. Xie Shangzhou muttered, what do you want to eat as usual? Lin Jiej earnestly sprinkled some ingredients on the chicken wings as he said, what does eating have to do with Guan Yaoyao? Another example: raising yellow croakers in the fish pond at the hot spring villa. Fish pond is deep enough to help with barbecue fishing. Himself asking the hot spring workers to help clean up the barbecue. Tian suggested that each family take out 100 renminbi to compete in fishing. The one who catches the least fish who takes away the money. Yao luck is really good. She fishes the least and ends up with the most statistics. Lin Jiej, pouring all the fish he fishes to Yao Lu Ben, cheated Lin Jiej. Asking Yao Lu Ben to order Lin Jiej to hurry back home. What's wrong with her? Finding a boyfriend or girlfriend? Truth seeker rebuttal. Watching helplessly as Yao carries a basket full of yellow croakers away. Lin Jiej and Yao's most fractal dog abuse. Do you eat Who barbecue meat skewers Lin Jiej eat Yao barbecue don't eat even if I allow you not to eat meat skewers to shut Lin Jiej's abusive mouth while eating and praising Yao Yao for eating kebabs really tasty and worth mentioning is the most hurtful at home eating when suddenly shouting Yao 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 raised her head and asked what sentence shouting Lu Ben 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 would you rather let Lu Benji take it? But what did Lin Jiej mean by offering a tissue to his girlfriend? The most beautiful lady meets Xia Shang and Zhou bears tolerates praises herself abuses her organs finds stomachache as an excuse to escape. Secondly, the maid of honor spoke to Lu Benji several times during the meal, and Lin Jiej found an excuse to avoid soaking in the hot spring. Xia Shangzhou and Lu Ben left, and Leng Yuan, He Tian, and Jiang Yu stayed behind. Cheng He Tian picked up the phone and called Han Jing. Chapter 795. He Tian didn't know how she should reply to Han Jing's words, so she discreetly asked Shi Yao for her opinion before replying honestly to Han Jing, saying that Shi Yao and Lin Jiej were together. Then, Han Jing was silent on the phone for a while. Without saying anything, he hung up the phone. After filling their stomachs, Lin Jiej and Shi Yao took a stroll around the man-made lake in the hot spring resort before returning to their room. On the way back to their room, Shi Yao was a little nervous. Even when she was chatting with Lin Jiej, her replies were sometimes a beat too late. In truth, she wasn't the only one who was nervous. Lin Jiej was also feeling the same way. By the time they reached their room, their hands, which had been holding onto each other the entire way, were already sweating. However, there were some things that happened much more naturally and smoothly than one could imagine. Shi Yao couldn't really remember how they ended up kissing. It seemed like after Lin Jiej returned to his room, he poured a glass of water and passed it to her. She didn't drink much of it before she placed the glass back on the coffee table. Following which, she fell into Lin Jiej's embrace. Lin Jiej's kiss was far more soul-stirring than any of his previous kisses. Shi Yao's heart pounded madly for a moment before her brain was filled with mush, and she lost all ability to think. He pinned her beneath his body and kissed her passionately, until she felt her head spinning, and the two of them couldn't even breathe properly anymore. In her daze, Shi Yao felt Lin Jiej's hands reaching up to her waist and into her clothes. His fingertips were slightly cold, and as they brushed past her skin, they left behind a series of chills that made her heart tremble. Shi Yao's head felt even more dizzy. But in the end, what woke her up was Lin Jiej's chuckle. Following which, his teasing voice sounded in her ears, "Didn't you say that you hate wearing those undergarments the most? Why are you still wearing this pink one?" Shi Yao was rendered speechless by Lin Jiej's teasing. With a reddened face, she held her breath for a moment before muttering under her breath, "You're annoying." Then, she opened her mouth and bit down on his shoulder. He didn't dodge, letting her use a little bit of strength to bite for a while, then hugged her and turned over, letting her lie on his body, stretching out his hand, holding her neck, making her face him. "Yao Yao, there are some words I must say first." As he spoke, Shi Yao realized that Lin Jiej's expression had turned exceptionally stern. She didn't say anything, but she returned his gaze and became more serious. "Yao Yao, after tonight, I won't give you any chance to regret, do you understand what I mean?" Shi Yao nodded her head before shaking her head. She didn't really understand what Zhang Xian was saying. In truth, Lin Jiej knew that it wasn't that Shi Yao didn't understand what he meant, but that she was a little uncertain about it. Thus, after a few seconds of silence, he decided to tell her everything. "In my entire life, I only want to fall in love once, and I only want to acknowledge one person. Yao Yao, since we're together tonight, you can only be with me for the rest of your life." His voice was very calm and light, but it carried an indescribable power that Shi Yao couldn't describe. "So, Yao Yao, have you thought it through? Lifetime. It was such an ethereal phrase, but Shi Yao believed it. Just because he was willing to let go of her even if he really liked her, just because he did so much for her without the slightest complaint, Shi Yao looked into Lin Jie's eyes, and without any hesitation, she nodded her head firmly. I have. The words "I've thought it through" fell into his mouth. Chapter 796. Shi Yao looked into Lin Jie's eyes, and without the slightest hesitation, she nodded her head vehemently and said, I have. The words "I have" at the end fell into Lin Jie's mouth. This time, his kiss was extremely frenzied, and it was much stronger than the previous kiss. His body was burning hot, and it felt as if his entire body was on fire. Shi Yao felt the heat rising from his lips as well. He kissed her for a very long time. His scorching lips slowly moved from the corner of her lips to her earlobe, the back of her ear, her neck, and finally, he gently bit down on her beautiful collarbone. At the same time, his fingertips moved to her back and undid the buttons of her bra one by one. In the instant that Shi Yao felt the pressure on her chest lightening, he had already taken off her top. Hugging her tightly, he flipped over and pinned her beneath his body once more. Their breathing grew more and more chaotic. One by one, her clothes were taken off by him. Then, he pressed his lips against hers and threw off his shirt. As the smooth and perfect lines of his skin fell into Shi Yao's eyes, she heard a "akacha" sound. Shi Yao knew that it was the sound of Lin Jie unbuckling his belt. Following that, Lin Jie's body left her. The weight he had reduced, and the occasional "akacha" sounds by her ears made Shi Yao feel even more nervous, and her body began to tremble slightly. Very soon, she felt another weight pressing down on her body. Lin Jie was pressing down on her once more, but this time, their lips only intertwined for a moment. Just as her head was starting to spin from the kiss, Lin Jie suddenly thought of something and muttered with a suppressed voice, "Wait a moment." Then, with one arm wrapped around her waist, he reached out with the other to rummage through the clothes scattered all over the floor. Curious, Shi Yao opened her eyes and sneaked a glance at Lin Jie, only to see him taking out a small colorful box from his pocket. Of course she knew what it was. Her face reddened as she retracted her gaze. However, when her gaze fell upon Lin Jie's exposed chest, her face reddened even further, and her breathing became uneven. She could only avert her gaze once more, only to see Lin Jie taking out a small pouch from the box and placing it by his lips. In truth, this action was rather common, but Lin Jie was born with a face that lacked any desire. Furthermore, with a small pouch in his mouth, the contrast made him look even more seductive than usual. This was especially so when the aura he was emanating at this very moment was no longer just the usual clean and refreshing fragrance that he usually exuded. Instead, it was one that was brimming with lust. This sight made Shi Yao feel that the current Lin Jie was no different from a monster who could captivate the hearts of all living beings. Isn't that right? He's a monster. Jiang Yu and He Tian were wrong. The beautiful ice cream ball isn't her but him. While Shi Yao was lost in her thoughts as she stared at Lin Jie, who had just opened the pouch, flipped around, and just as he was about to use the pouch, he suddenly caught sight of something on the ground from the corner of his eyes. He paused for a moment, then fixed his gaze on it. Then, he threw the small bag in his hand into the trash can beside him. Upon seeing this sight, Shi Yao frowned as she glared at Lin Jie in bewilderment. But before she could ask him about it, Lin Jie had already spoken up. His hoarse and deep voice carried a hint of King Dog's mental breakdown. Yao Yao, I think you should go to the washroom and lie down. Chapter 797. Washroom. Shi Yao blinked her eyes. I don't want to go to the washroom. Lin Jie seemed to be holding his breath for a long while before he finally squeezed out a few words, but you still have to go. Yao blinked her eyes again with an aggrieved look on her face. How in the world can there be such a person? I don't want to go to the washroom, and yet I'm being forced to go to the washroom. Please don't act cute. I'm really afraid that I won't be able to hold myself back and I'll just have to fight a bloody battle with you. Lin Jiej grumbled in his heart as he averted his gaze. Then, he pointed to a certain spot on the floor, gesturing for Yao to take a look for herself. Yao blinked her eyes at Lin Jiej in bewilderment before following the direction of his finger. Her gaze fell onto her underwear. Yao was just about to ask Lin Jiej why he was looking at her underwear for no reason, but before the words could reach her throat, she saw a bright red bloodstain on her pink underwear. Bloodstain. 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 As if coming to a realization, Yao pushed Lin Jiej away and glanced at the sofa. Sure enough, there were some bloodstains on it as well. Is she on her period? In the next instant, Yao dashed into the washroom barefooted. As the washroom door slammed shut, Lin Jiej flipped over a blanket and wrapped it around himself before sitting cross-legged on the sofa. Staring at the night view outside the window, he began to doubt his life. He really couldn't comprehend the current situation. Why did such a tragic thing happen to him? He had been anticipating it for so many days, and he had even taken off his clothes. Just as the arrow was about to be released, her period suddenly came. Lin Jiej wrapped the blanket tightly around himself. The more he thought about it, the more sorrowful he felt. In fact, he couldn't help but feel a sense of tragedy, as if he was going to die before he could achieve anything. Lin Jiej, Yao's feeble voice suddenly sounded from the washroom behind him. It was impossible for him not to feel depressed after such a thing had happened. But even so, Lin Jiej still replied to Yao's words with a gentle and elegant voice. What's wrong? There aren't any buns here, buns. Lin Jiej frowned. Soft Bun is still thinking of eating at a time like this. But even though he was displeased, he didn't dare to show it on his face. Instead, he continued replying with a gentle voice, what kind of bread do you want? I'll go buy it for you. No, it's not eating bread, it's using bread, Lin Jiej thought to himself. Don't lie to me. He's an educated man, so how can bread still be used? Why don't you tell me how to use the bread? Let me try it. Seeing that Lin Jiej wasn't responding at all, Yao thought that he still didn't know what she was referring to, so she could only speak up once more. It's sanitary napkins. It turned out that the bread soft bun was referring to was sanitary napkins. Lin Jiej replied with an, oh. Without any hesitation, he continued, I'll go buy it for you right now. Even though it was unbearable for him to hold it in between his legs, he still tossed the blanket aside, picked up his clothes, and began putting them on. Before he left, he turned to Yao in the washroom and said, I'll be going now. Chapter 798. Lin Jiej halted his footsteps. What's wrong? Can't you bring some real bread along with you when you buy it? After what you said earlier, I'm starting to feel like eating it, Lin Jiej. She's still thinking about eating at this stage. Waiting for Lin Jiej's reply, Yao asked once more, Can I say no to that? Even though Lin Jiej thought so, he replied nonchalantly, Sure. Is there anything else you want to eat? Ham sausage, jelly, yogurt, chocolate, fries. Darling, you sure have a big heart. Lin Jiej's voice was a little soft, so Yao couldn't hear him clearly. What is it? It's nothing. I told you to wait for me. I'll be right back. Lin Jiej only wore a thin shirt as he headed out. It was already very cold in Beijing at the end of November, and the fire in his body had mostly subsided by now. Lin Jiej placed the bag of snacks Yao had requested on the coffee table before heading to the washroom with another large bag in hand. He raised his hand and knocked on the door lightly. Yao Yao. The washroom door opened slightly, and Shi Yao's fair arm stretched out from within. Lin Jie passed the bag over to her. After she retracted her hand, he was just about to return to the sofa when he heard her voice once more. Why did you buy so many? Oh, I didn't know which brand you wanted, and I didn't know whether you wanted to use them for the day or the night, so I bought one of each. Shi Yao mimicked Lin Jie's tone and replied with an oh. A few seconds later, she spoke up once more. Lin Jie. Lin Jie, who had already walked a distance away from the washroom, suddenly turned back and asked, "What's wrong?" Shi Yao seemed to be a little embarrassed, and she stuttered for a long while before she finally managed to express what she wanted to say. "You have to pass me a pair of underwear. They're in my suitcase." Hearing those words, Lin Jie recalled that she had indeed run into the washroom naked. He replied with an before walking over to the small suitcase Shi Yao had brought over. While Lin Jie was helping Shi Yao look for her undergarments, the first thing he found was a ball of light fabric. He thought it was underwear and picked it up to take a look. Then he realized what it was. The side of his ears turned red. The desire that had been blown away by the cold wind outside with great difficulty once again surged in his body. Lin Jie. Shi Yao spoke up once more. Lin Jie hurriedly snapped out of his daze and said, "He's here." As he spoke, he took out a piece of underwear from under the ball of cloth. "No, I wanted to ask you to bring me a t-shirt," Lin Jie replied with an before squatting down to pick up a t-shirt and making his way to the washroom. After passing the clothes to Shi Yao, who was in the bathroom, he sat on the sofa and stared out the window for a while. His peripheral vision kept drifting toward Shi Yao's luggage. Why did Soft Bun prepare those things? Was she going to wear it for him to see? As these thoughts surfaced in Lin Jie's mind, he couldn't help but let his imagination run wild. He didn't even notice when Shi Yao walked out of the bathroom and walked up to him. Chapter 799. Lin Jie. Shi Yao called out to Lin Jie, but seeing that he wasn't reacting, she took a closer look at him. Then, Shi Yao noticed that Lin Jie's gaze was constantly drifting in a certain direction. Out of pure curiosity, she followed his gaze and saw that it was her luggage. Was there something wrong with her luggage? Shi Yao craned her neck to examine the luggage for a moment, and she soon noticed a familiar fabric. That was the present that Ling Wan and the others had given me to get rid of my singlehood. She had clearly hidden it at the bottom of the cabinet, so how did it end up in her luggage? Shi Yao frowned. She recalled how Tian had told her to wash apples before leaving the house. Did they secretly put it in her luggage then? Shi Yao immediately stood up and ran over to her luggage to close it. After which, she turned to Lin Jie and began babbling nonsense. That. I didn't buy it. They gave it to me. I don't know how I got in. No, that's not right. They secretly stuffed it in behind my back. Faced with Shi Yao's anxiety, Lin Jie absent-mindedly replied with an Shi Yao's face burned in embarrassment. She looked around for a moment before she ran over to the sofa and bent down to pick up her underwear. She wanted to find an excuse to hide in the washroom, so she said, "I'll go wash my clothes first." As she said those words, she rushed to the washroom. But barely after she took half a step, Lin Jie suddenly grabbed her wrist. He stood up and took her underwear from her fingers, saying, "I'll wash it for you. You should rest on the bed." It had been many years since her mother stopped washing her underwear. Shi Yao hurriedly shook her head and said, "It's fine, I'll do it myself." Lin Jie couldn't be bothered to argue with her, so he wrapped an arm around her waist and carried her over to the bedroom. After placing her on the bed and pulling a blanket over her, he stared at her for a moment with a fiery gaze before telling her, "Be good." Fearing that he would lose control of himself, he got up and left the room. Good girl. Fearing that he would lose control of himself, Lin Jie got up and left. After washing Yao's undergarments, Lin Jie brought out a glass of brown sugar water and placed it on the bedside table. He also brought the food that Yao wanted along with him, and with a negotiating tone, he said, "You can eat first. I'll head to the hotel's cafe to get busy for a while, alright?" After receiving Yao's permission, Lin Jie left the hotel room. He said he was going to work, but how could he be in the mood for work now? However, before he completely calmed down, he really didn't dare to stay in the hotel room. Being in the same room with her, and what's more, they almost did it. That feeling was too torturous. He wasn't a monk, he really couldn't take it. Lin Jie stood outside and basked in the cold wind for a while before heading out to look for Lu Benlai and Xia Shangzhou. The two of them were playing poker and were surprised to see him. "Boss, you're done. I thought you would fight until dawn." "Boss, didn't you say that one box wasn't enough? Is one of them useful now?" Faced with the ridicule of the duo, Lin Jie felt even more stifled. While the events that had transpired tonight were truly melodramatic, he couldn't accept being doubted in that aspect of his. Thus, he found a seat on the sofa and sat down. Grabbing a pillow, he hugged it tightly in his embrace and muttered 3 words resentfully, "Great aunt." Lu Benlai and Xia Shangzhou instantly understood what he meant, and they burst into mocking laughter. "Boss, a man defeated by great aunt. Man. You must have used the wrong term. It's clearly a man. Boss, do you know what this is called? Don't abuse dogs, or else you'll be struck by lightning." Ha ha ha. However, it didn't take long for the two of them to lose everything they had on down to their underwear after Lin Jie's arrival and joined them in their poker game. That night, it was already 2 in the morning by the time the 3 of them finished their poker game in Xia Shangzhou's room. After they left, an accident occurred, or rather, it could be said to be an accident. Chapter 800. That night, it was already 2 in the morning by the time the 3 of them finished playing cards in Xia Shangzhou's room. After they left, an accident occurred, or rather, it could be said to be an accident. Xia Shangzhou and Lu Benlai, who had just finished playing cards, seemed to be in an abnormal state of mind, so they suggested drinking 2 glasses of wine. Lin Jie, who had already calmed down after playing cards for several hours, was worried about Yao, so he rejected their suggestion and said, "You guys go ahead and drink, I have to go now." The vengeful Lin Jie remembered the merciless mockery he had received from those 2 earlier in the night. So, while he was tidying up the winnings on the table, he didn't forget to say, "I'm different from the 2 of you. I have someone waiting for me in my room, unlike the 2 of you who have nothing to worry about." Not bad. I can feed Yao a few sumptuous meals with this winnings. After saying those words, Lin Jie waved the thick stack of 100 yuan bills in front of him and intentionally tossed out the words, "I'm leaving, I'm going back to see my girlfriend." After which, he picked up his winnings and left the room. Just before he left, Lin Jie seemed to have thought of something, and he turned around and said, "Even if I'm a man, I'm still a man with a girlfriend. But the 2 of you," he didn't finish his words. Instead, he shot Xia Shangzhou and Lu Benlai a look of pity and sympathy. Amidst the wails of the 2 fellows, he slowly opened the door and walked out. Then, he slowly closed the door behind him and walked away. After Lin Jie's departure, Lu Benlai and Xia Shangzhou really opened a bottle of wine to drown their sorrows in the midst of losing money and being showered with so much love. Even though they said that they were drowning their sorrows, they only managed to drink half a bottle of red wine before they left. The rooms in the hot spring villa were all independent wooden huts. Lu Benlai's room was slightly far from Xia Shangzhou's. Humming a tuneless tune, he walked along the cobblestone path alone, making many turns as he passed by wooden hut after wooden hut. On his way to his room, he encountered that accident. It was already late at night, and the hot spring villa was extremely quiet. Initially, Liu Benlai only vaguely heard some commotion, but he didn't pay much attention to it until a voice sounded from behind him. Room 601 is on fire. I got it. I'm rushing over. Someone is already calling the police. Okay, got it. I'll be there right away. As his voice fell, a security guard, while talking into a walkie-talkie, hurried past him. Fire. 601. Liu Benlai took 2 steps forward before it suddenly occurred to him that Lang Wan's room was 601. He hastened his footsteps and caught up to the security guard. Grabbing his arm, he asked, "Did you say that room 601 is on fire?" The security guard was stunned for 2 seconds. That's right. Just now, the surveillance room suddenly issued an alarm saying that room 601 was on fire. Before the security guard could finish his words, Liu Benlai had already let go of him and dashed off. After running for roughly 10 meters, he suddenly turned around and asked, "Where is 601? The security guard raised his hand and pointed to the left, but before he could say a word, Liu Benlai had already disappeared into the darkness. Even from afar, Liu Benlai could see a fire flickering within a wooden hut. The fire was already burning very fiercely. Before Liu Ben even reached the wooden house, he could already feel the billowing hot air blowing on his face. Chapter 801. Liu Benlai scanned the surroundings, but Lang Wan was nowhere to be seen. So, he grabbed a random person and asked, "Did the person staying in this room come out?" That person was probably here on vacation. Upon hearing Liu Benlai's question, he shook his head and replied, "I don't know. I only came out to take a look after hearing the commotion. I don't know." What kind of answer is that? Liu Benlai's voice sounded a little anxious. "When did you get here? Didn't you see anyone coming out of the room?" This time, before the person Liu Benlai was asking could reply, another person had already answered, "I came earlier than him. By the time I arrived, the fire was already very intense, and thick smoke was pouring out of the windows. However, it's been a while, and no one has come out yet. If there's really someone inside, there's a high chance that they've already fainted by now." This time, before the person could finish his words, Liu Benlai had already dashed toward the burning wooden hut. "Hey, brother, what are you doing? Given the size of the fire, you might not be able to come out if you go in. Besides, we've already called the police, and the fire brigade will be here soon." Ignoring the warning from the kind-hearted person behind him, Liu Benlai rushed to the door of the wooden hut and began shouting Lang Wan's name. But there was no response. The door was locked from the inside. He tried pushing it twice, but it wouldn't budge. So, he turned to look at the open window by the side, and without any hesitation, he dashed toward the window. Along the way, he happened to pass by a small fountain. Ignoring the fact that it was winter, he stood on top of the fountain and quickly soaked his clothes. After which, he tore off a piece of his shirt and covered his mouth and nose before leaping into the room through the window. The room was filled with flames. Liu Benlai shouted Lang Wan's name as he searched for her. Through the crackling of the fire, Liu Benlai heard the sound of the fire alarm outside. Following which, the door opened, and someone rushed in to drag him out. Lang Wan, after being thrown out of the wooden hut, Liu Benlai subconsciously dashed back into the hut, but he was soon stopped by the security guards. "Let go of me, I want to go in and look for someone." Lang Wan, Liu Benlai struggled frenziedly, but due to the fact that he was unable to break free from the restraints of the security guards, his voice sounded hysterical. Perhaps it was because he was using too much strength, but his voice ended up becoming a little hoarse by the end. Even so, he continued shouting Lang Wan's name with all his might. Just as his voice broke, a clear and cold voice sounded from behind him, "Senior Liu, as if someone had struck Lu Benlai's acupoint, he suddenly quietened down. 3 seconds later, he turned around and saw Lang Nwan standing under a plum blossom tree about 5 meters behind him. He was stunned for a moment before a look of ecstasy flashed across his face. He broke free from the security guard and subconsciously dashed toward Lang Nwan. "Are you all right? You weren't in the room. You scared me to death. I thought you were trapped inside." As he spoke, he reached out to grab Lang Nwan's arm to ensure that she was fine. However, before his fingertips could even touch Lang Nwan's clothes, Lang Nwan had already taken a step back in extreme repulsion, dodging his hand. "I'm fine, Senior Lu." Lang Nwan's voice still didn't carry much emotion. Chapter 802. No. Lang Nwan's voice was still as emotionless as before. After replying to Lu Benlai's question with a distant look on her face, a moment later, she explained, "I live in Block 601 of the East Sector. This is the West Sector." Lu Benlai first replied with an "oh" before realization dawned on him. In the end, as if he didn't know what else to say, he chuckled and said, "In any case, it's still the same as before. As long as you're fine." Lang Nwan fell silent. Perhaps it was due to the shock that Lu Benlai, who had always been a talkative person, noticed that she wasn't saying anything at all, so he didn't say anything either. Unlike usual, when she ignored him, he would always have endless topics to talk about. Silence fell between the two of them as the firefighters behind them hurried about. It didn't take long for the fire to be extinguished, and since there weren't any casualties, the crowd gradually dispersed. The already quiet suburbs seemed to have grown even quieter. Staring at Lu Benlai, Lang Nwan's eyes flickered as she broke the silence between the two of them. "You're..." After saying those 2 words, she raised her hand and pointed to her hair. At first, Lu Benlai didn't understand what Lang Nwan was getting at. He was stunned for a moment before he reached out to touch his head. There was a burning sensation, and it dawned on him that she was referring to the fact that he had dashed into the fire earlier. Lu Benlai, who had always placed great importance on his hairstyle, scratched his head and said, "Oh, about that. It just so happens that I've been thinking of changing my hairstyle recently and shaving my head bald, but I haven't been able to make up my mind yet. Looks like I don't have to think about it anymore. Tomorrow, I can just go to the hairdresser in the hot spring and shave off my head." Lu Benlai had always been this mischievous. Lang Nwan had often been amused by Lu Benlai in the past, but this time, she couldn't bring herself to laugh. Looking at his drenched clothes and his shivering body in the early winter night, she lowered her eyelids and said, "It's getting late. I'm going back to rest." "All right then," Lu Benlai replied. Then, with a tone of negotiation, he asked, "Do you want me to send you off?" Lu Benlai had said these words to Lang Nwan many times before, but every single time, Lang Nwan would either reject him coldly or politely. This time, Lu Benlai's words sounded in Lang Nwan's ears, and out of habit, she subconsciously wanted to say, "There's no need, thank you." However, just as the words reached the tip of her tongue, she couldn't bring herself to say it. In the end, she simply turned around and headed back to her room. Seeing that she didn't turn him down, Lu Benlai grinned and followed along. "It's really cold today. By the way, you've been reading in the car this afternoon. What are you reading? Have you always not liked to talk?" Girls are so young, it's better for them to be more lively. Along the way, Lu Benlai chattered non-stop. It was only when they were about to reach Lang Nwan's room that she finally turned around to look at him. Lu Benlai's lips immediately tightened, and he fell silent. Walking to the door of her room, Lang Nwan suddenly stopped. "I'm here. Hurry up and go in then. Have an early rest. Good night." The disheveled Lu Benlai stood under a dim streetlight and waved goodbye to Lang Nwan with a smile. Chapter 803. Ling Wan leaned against the door for a moment before making her way back into the house. When she passed by the window, she took a look outside and saw Lu Benlai still standing under the streetlight, trembling in fear. She didn't linger for long before heading into the bathroom. After a hot shower, she glanced out of the window once more. The spot where Lu Benlai had been standing earlier was completely empty, save for a dim yellow light. After Lu Benlai left, Ling Wan stared fixedly at that spot. She hadn't dried her hair yet, and even though there was a heater in the wooden hut, her scalp still felt a little chilly after standing there for too long. Recovering from her daze, she walked over to the dressing table and carefully dried her hair with the hairdryer. After applying some face cream, she switched off the lights and went to bed. She closed her eyes, but despite her exhaustion, she was unable to fall asleep. Initially, she had gone to the hot spring with Tian and Jiang Yu, but at midnight, the three of them stayed in Jiang Yu's room for a while. Time flew by as they chatted, and in the blink of an eye, it was already 2 in the morning. So tired that she couldn't even open her eyes, she left the excited Tian and Jiang Yu behind and left by herself. Jiang Yu lived in the west sector whereas she lived in the east sector. The journey back home was a little long. But along the way, she heard a commotion and the sound of the fire alarm. Out of pure curiosity, she turned her gaze toward the source of the commotion, but she didn't expect to hear her name amidst the commotion. Ling Wan, Ling Wan, Ling Wan. Her voice was filled with sincerity. It came from the burning wooden hut. She couldn't shake the feeling that it was all a dream. It wasn't until the fireman dragged Lu Benlai out from the hut that she saw with her own eyes that he was still desperately trying to rush into the blazing hut that she couldn't help but clench her fists tightly. Her slightly long fingernails dug into her palms, letting her know that this wasn't a dream. Then, she turned to the hysterical male student and called out, "Senior Lu." He no longer had the flamboyant image that Tian used to describe him as. Instead, he rushed over to her in a disheveled manner. In that instant, she felt as if she was hallucinating that he was even more handsome than the Lin Jiej that Lord Ji had praised. Was he sincere? He must be sincere. Even though he made a mistake and she did not stay in that room, he still risked his life to rush in. Was he really sincere? But, so what if he was sincere? In the end, she was not worthy, and did not dare to accept that sincerity. Yao's period came, and the second day happened to be the most uncomfortable day out of the 7 days. So, Lin Jiej didn't go out to play. Instead, he stayed in the room to accompany Yao. If she wanted to eat an apple, he would peel it. If she wanted to eat a grape, he would peel it. If she wanted to drink a yogurt, he would lick the lid. It was only around lunchtime that the two of them finally left the hotel room. The resort was well equipped, and there was a huge variety of Chinese and Western cuisines available. Yao chose Chinese cuisine, and before heading to the dining hall, Lin Jiej followed Yao's suggestion and gave the other 5 a call, asking them if they wanted to have a meal together. The 5 of them accepted Lin Jiej's goodwill, and when it was time to eat, Lin Jiej and Yao shared a table while the 5 of them chose another table for themselves. Furthermore, their seats were as far away from Lin Jiej and Yao's table as possible. Chapter 804. It was a fine day, so after lunch, Lin Jiej accompanied Yao to bask in the sun since she wasn't allowed to soak in the hot spring. While they were basking in the sun, a hotel attendant brought over a plate of nuts and a piece of cake for their afternoon tea. Lin Jiej accompanied Yao to watch a TV series for a while before he placed the nuts by his side and began peeling them while stuffing them into Yao's mouth. The environment around them was very quiet. Other than the sound of Lin Jiej peeling the shells and the sound of Yao's voice coming from the iPad in her hand, there was no other sound. The warm and radiant sunlight shone on Shiryao and Lin Jiej through the glass window, bringing with it a sense of tranquility and serenity. In such an atmosphere, Lin Jiej's heart calmed down as well. If it was possible, he really wished that time could stay at this moment so that the two of them could grow old in peace. While Lin Jiej's mind was wandering, Shiryao, who hadn't eaten the nuts yet, turned to look at him. Lin Jiej quickly reined in his thoughts and stuffed the peeled nuts into Shiryao's mouth. Shiryao smiled happily, and her eyes curved into an adorable smile. Seeing her smile, Lin Jiej couldn't help but smile as well. His only wish was that every time he saw her, she would be smiling like a flower. Seeing that Lin Jiej was staring at her silently, Shiryao blinked her eyes and asked, "What are you smiling about?" "I'm smiling. It's so nice that no one will disturb us like this." Then, Shiryao's phone rang. Lin Jiej, Shiryao couldn't help but burst into laughter. Under Lin Jiej's speechless gaze, she took out her phone to take a look. It was an unfamiliar number, but fearing that she might have missed an important call, she picked it up and said, "Hello, may I know who you are?" There was only silence on the other end of the phone. Shiryao frowned, thinking that she had dialed the wrong number. Just as she was about to hang up, a male voice suddenly sounded from the other end. "Excuse me, are you Senior Shiryao?" "Calling me Senior?" And a male at that. Lin Jiej's back immediately tensed up as he focused all of his attention on Shiryao's phone. "I'm Shiryao." After replying, Shiryao couldn't help but ask, "May I know if you're from G University too?" "That's right. I'm from G University, and I'm from the English faculty as well." "Senior, do you remember me? When I entered the school, you were in charge of welcoming the new students." Shiryao didn't have any recollection of it, but she was too embarrassed to say that she didn't remember it. Fortunately, the man on the other end of the phone spoke up once more. "You told me that I'm really tall, oh." Shiryao replied with an "oh." The boy on the other end of the phone thought that he had remembered him and immediately said, "Well, Senior Sister, my name is Chen Tao, the Tao of Civil and Military Strategy. I'm 18 years old this year and I'm already an adult. I'm from Nanjing and I have a younger sister who is in junior high this year. You're toxic. It's not like Soft Bun is doing a census, so why is he reporting in such detail?" He even emphasized that he was already an adult. Was he hinting at something? Lin Jiej squeezed the nut in his hand tightly, crushing it along with the kernel. Shiryao was dumbfounded by this junior's words. She blinked her eyes and asked, "That Junior, do you have any business with me?" "Senior Sister, it took me a lot of effort to find your number. I don't know if I'm being too abrupt." Chapter 805. You know that it's rude, but you still called me. Lin Jiej crushed another nut, shell and kernel in it. Could it be that this child doesn't understand human language? Why does he keep giving irrelevant answers? Left with no choice, Shiryao asked once more, "Junior, what do you want from me?" "Senior Sister, are you angry?" Shiryao. Does this child really not understand human language? Shiryao, no. That's good. You gave me a fright. I thought you were angry, Shiryao hurriedly interjected, interrupting Zhang Xian's words. "Junior, why don't you get down to business?" "Oh, I'm sorry, Senior. I tend to talk a lot of nonsense when I get nervous." "Please don't take it to heart. What do you mean by talking a lot of nonsense?" "It's really a lot of nonsense. Also, your senior might not take it to heart, but your senior's man is." Lin Jiej squeezed the crushed kernels in his hand until they were reduced to powder. "Senior, the reason why I called you is because I haven't been able to forget about you. The first time I saw you, I felt that you were my goddess. Senior, can I like you? No way. To like soft bun, there's no way, no, there's not even a window. With this thought in mind, the shell of the nut in Lin Jia's hand was reduced to tiny pieces. Ah. He's actually here to confess. Shi Yao had received far too many similar calls, so she replied calmly, if I say no, will you really obediently stop liking me? No, senior. Regardless of whether you accept me or reject me, I'll still like you. Senior sister, can I pursue you? Hearing Wen Ta Wu Lu's words, Shi Yao felt her scalp going numb. She was stunned for 2 seconds. Then, relying on her woman's intuition, she turned around and saw Lin Jie staring straight at her. Am I imagining things? She could sense a hint of resentment in Lin Jie's eyes. Resentment, as if she hadn't done anything at all, made her feel guilty, as if she had betrayed him. Shi Yao steadied her heart and hurriedly tried to prove her innocence. Junior, I'm sorry, but I'm afraid that I'll still have to reject you. I already have a boyfriend. It's fine, senior. I don't mind. I can still break up with a boyfriend, break up. To curse him to break up with soft bun in broad daylight, is there still any law in this world? The resentment in Lin Jie's eyes deepened. Without any hesitation, the aggrieved Shi Yao replied resolutely, Junior, I will never break up with my boyfriend. Also, I don't like boys younger than me. Why? Senior sister. Do you like old men? Old man. Were they talking about him? This was simply too much. What's wrong with being young? So what if you're young? You're speaking as if I'm not 18 years old yet. Trying to steal his woman right in front of his face. Do you really think that I, Lin Jie, am a pushover? Why don't you ask around to find out what his strongest hidden skill is? That's picking peach blossoms. Let's see how he's going to return to his old profession. With this thought in mind, Lin Jie suddenly spoke up, baby. The elegant voice and the gentle tone were as mushy as one could imagine. Shi Yao shuddered as she turned to look at Lin Jie. Chapter 806. Shi Yao widened her eyes in shock. It took her 2 seconds before she realized what Lin Jie was doing. I'm still on the phone with Junior Wen Ta Wu and Junior Wu Lu. Shi Yao subconsciously tried to struggle free, but Lin Jie seemed to have predicted her reaction. He grabbed the back of her head and kissed her forcefully on the lips. Then, he pried open her teeth and forcefully entered her mouth. He kissed her for a long time, and it was only when her breathing became a little ragged that he silently lifted his eyes to look at Shi Yao's phone screen. Perhaps the person on the other end had heard the slight commotion earlier and knew what Shi Yao had done, but he had already hung up the call. Hee. You dare to fight with me, Lin Jie sneered disdainfully in his heart as he deepened the kiss. It wasn't until he was satisfied that he reluctantly let go of Shi Yao. Pressed against Lin Jie's chest, Shi Yao's breathing became unstable for a moment before she finally managed to catch her breath. She subconsciously glanced at her phone screen, only to see that the call had already been hung up. Then, she recalled that their kiss had been heard by Wen Ta Wu and Wu Lu on the other end of the line, and her face immediately reddened. She glared at Lin Jie in embarrassment and said, Why you did it on purpose? Lin Jie reached out to stroke Shi Yao's hair and said, I didn't do it on purpose. I did it on purpose. Before Shi Yao could explode, he quickly added, besides, Yao, I'm helping you. Do you like him? If you don't like him, then you shouldn't like him pestering you either, right? Didn't I clear the way for you just now? Shouldn't I be thanking you then? I'm doing all of this out of my own free will. However, if you insist on doing something for me to express your gratitude, I don't mind either. Why you? Shi Yao puffed up her cheeks and said, My baby is angry, the kind that can't be appeased. All right, I was wrong. My baby won't be angry anymore. How about this? As Lin Jiej spoke, he took out his phone and said, "Take a look at the girls in my phone and call them if you think there's something wrong with them. Then, you can use what I did earlier to force her to hang up the call. That should be fair, right?" Fair my ass. Did he think she was stupid? Humph. Shi Yao turned her gaze away from Lin Jiej's face. Yes, yes, yes. Fair my ass. How about this, I'll buy you a cake. Do I look like someone who can be dismissed with a piece of cake? No, no, no. How is that possible? Our baby needs 100 pieces of cake to satisfy him, right? Yes, yes, we agreed on 100 pieces of cake. Okay, a lifetime of cake. In the afternoon, the phone call from his junior didn't pose much of a threat to Lin Jiej. Until nightfall. Due to Shi Yao's period, she had gone to bed early. After busying himself with work for a while, Zhang Xian took a bath and climbed into bed. Just as he was about to sleep, his phone suddenly rang. Lin Jiej subconsciously reached for his phone, only to realize that it was already on silent mode. Only then did he realize that it was Shi Yao's phone. He thought it was just a message, so he didn't pay much attention to it. Just as he lay on the bed, his phone rang again. It was still Shi Yao's phone. Chapter 807. After the series of actions, Lin Jiej was just about to place Shi Yao's phone back when the screen suddenly lit up. There was another message. Shi Yao, are you really together with Lin Jiej? Who is this? Lin Jiej frowned. Following which, the screen lit up one after another and dimmed down one after another. Message after message popped up in Shi Yao's phone one after another. Without a doubt, Lin Jiej knew that the sender was a man. Not to mention, he sent so many messages in the middle of the night. A light flickered across Lin Jiej's eyes for a moment before he eventually pulled Shi Yao's hand to unlock the screen. He tapped into the messages on his phone and browsed through them one by one. Are you asleep? Shi Yao, it's Han Jing. Are you still going to ignore me? The reason I'm here is to ask you, Shi Yao, are you really together with Lin Jiej? I know that it might be true, but I want to hear it from your own mouth. Han Jing. That guy from the arts faculty who treated soft bun to fish and sang a song for her downstairs. Yesterday, he seemed to have given He Tian Tian a call to ask her if it was true that he was together with Shi Yao on the forum. Didn't soft bun tell He Tian Tian to tell him that they were really together? Why would he still send a message to soft bun? Could it be that he still hasn't given up on soft bun? While Lin Jiej was deep in thought, another message appeared on his phone screen. Once again, it was from Han Jing. Shi Yao, I really like you a lot. Even though you've already ignored me, I still like you a lot. I've never forgotten about you. Shi Yao, is there really no hope left for me? Why are there so many people coveting my soft bun? Lin Jiej stared at the screen for a moment before he turned to look at the sleeping girl on the bed. His eyes darkened, and he raised his finger to type a few words on the screen before sending it over. She's asleep. Does this mean that he finally gets it? He should be able to give up now, right? Lin Jiej, who felt that he had defeated Han Jing in an instant, was just about to put down his phone when another message popped up. Han Jing, may I know who you are? Han Jing, Lin Jiej. Of course it was. Could it be that he wasn't Lin Jiej but Gu Jialin? Lin Jiej flicked his finger and asked, what else? Who did you think it was? This time, Han Jing did not respond. After putting down his phone, Lin Jiej couldn't help but feel indignant. He picked up his phone again and sent a message to Han Jing. Student Han, since you're so deeply in love with Shi Yao, aren't you going to give her your blessings now that she has found her own happiness? Lin Jiej waited for a moment, but seeing that there was still no response from Han Jing, he sent another message. It looks like student Han's feelings for Shi Yao are only so-so after all. You can't even give her a generous blessing, but even so, student Han, since we're alumni, I'll still invite you to our engagement banquet. Would you be willing to do me the honor? Hee, let's see who's going to be disgusted to death. Finally able to calm down, Lin Jiej deleted his chat history with Han Jing and returned to his message page. Only then did he realize that there were a lot of unread messages, and most of them didn't have a name attached to them. They were all 11-digit numbers. Chapter 808. Finally, Lin Jiej was able to calm himself down. He deleted all of his chat records with Han Jing and returned to his messages page. Only then did he realize that there were a lot of unread messages from Shi Yao, and most of them didn't have a name attached to them. They were all 11-digit numbers. Excuse me, are you Shi Yao? I'm Wang Su from the computer faculty. We met once at the school's auditorium. This name, this major. Most likely, it's a guy. Just like that Wen Tao and Wu Lu from the afternoon, they're up to no good. With this thought in mind, Lin Jiej moved his fingers. I'm sorry, I'm not Shi Yao. I'm Lin Jiej's girlfriend. After successfully sending the message, he scrolled through the rest of the unread messages. Junior Shi Yao, I'm Wang Miao, a third-year student. My parents gave me the character Miao, so most people wouldn't be able to recognize it. Junior Shi Yao, I'm sending you a message to ask if I can treat you to dinner. What's so amazing about using an uncommon character as a name? To think that he would even note what to pronounce it on. Did he think that everyone was like him and had never been to school? What a coincidence. Not only did he know this character, he even knew how to use it to create words. For example, Miao like mountains and rivers, meaning as if separated by mountains and rivers. Another example would be Miao long, meaning as if forever. Another example would be Miao with each other, describing how trees compete with one another to climb higher and further away. This phrase came from a book with Zhu Yuanci. Do you know who Zhu Yuanci is? His name is Yushan, and his background is unknown. Do you get it? What's worse is, can I treat you to dinner? Lin Jiej sneered coldly as he moved his fingers once more. Sure, but can I bring my boyfriend along? Lin Jiej switched to another unread message. It was also from a guy. Junior Shi Yao, do you like to watch movies? I have 2 movie tickets here. Lin Jiej didn't even have the mood to retort anymore. Instead, he continued scrolling through the unread messages. There was an affectionate one, Shi Yao, even if you don't love me, I'll protect you for the rest of my life. There was an amusing one, Shi Yao, can you walk with me from head to toe until I go bald? There was also a tireless one, November 30th, good night. November 29th, the temperature will drop, so wear more clothes. Shi Yao, good night. November 28th. I went to watch a movie today. It was pretty good. I recommend you. Good night. November 27th. So, it turned out that there were actually so many men harassing Soft Bun in G University without him knowing. Lin Jiej couldn't bring himself to continue reading the unread messages anymore. The more he read, the more stifled he felt. He put down his phone and stared intently at Shi Yao's sleeping face. As he stared at her, his mind suddenly wandered off. Unbeknownst to him, his lips curled up into a doting smile. By the time Lin Jiej finally came back to his senses, he realized that the depression he had been feeling from the messages from the male strangers had unknowingly dissipated by more than half as he stared at Shi Yao. It was no wonder why there were so many guys chasing after his soft bun. His soft bun was so adorable. If he were in her shoes, he would also chase after her. Aw. didn't he spend a long time chasing after Soft Bun? From the looks of it, he was much stronger than those boys. Chapter 809. If one day, Soft Bun were to pluck away one of the rotten peach blossoms on a whim, he'd be in deep trouble. However, he wasn't just targeting one rotten peach blossom but all the rotten peach blossoms in G University who were eyeing Soft Bun. Thus, he had to think of a way to uproot all the rotten peach blossoms in G University. I have to think of a way, Lin Jiej bit his thumb as he stared at the ceiling. Eventually, he sat up and picked up his phone to send a WeChat message to Liu Benlai and Xie Shangzhou. Xie Shangzhou was the first to reply, "Boss, what's your purpose in doing all this? Are you going to propose to Little Junior?" Liu Benlai followed closely behind, "Boss, doesn't it hurt to ask me to do all this to help you propose? You must know that I'm a bald man at the moment, Lin Jiej, I'm not proposing." Liu Benlai, "If it's not a proposal, then you're torturing a dog." Xie Shangzhou, "Boss, there's a saying that goes, those who show off their love will die the fastest. Didn't you get defeated by your period last night?" Xie Shangzhou had actually touched on his sore spot and used the pain in his heart to provoke him. Very well, he had already noted it down in the little notebook in his heart. Lin Jiej, who was bent on destroying all the rotten peach blossoms in G University, decided to let Xie Shangzhou off for the time being. "I'm not showing off my love either. I'm trying to pluck out the peach blossoms." Liu Benlai, "Huh. You're making such a huge fuss to declare your sovereignty. Boss, you sure know how to play." Xie Shangzhou, "Boss, Little Junior is already yours. Why are you still bothered about those rotten peach blossoms?" Lin Jiej didn't respond to the duo's words. Instead, he replied, "In any case, remember to help me prepare the things I mentioned earlier." "Thanks." After receiving the okay from Liu Benlai and Xie Shangzhou, Lin Jiej was just about to put down his phone and go to sleep when he recalled Xie Shangzhou's earlier ridicule. He was intending to send a message to both Liu Benlai and Xie Shangzhou, but when he recalled that Liu Benlai had already shaved his head during the day, he decided to only send a message to Xie Shangzhou, "You don't understand. Having a girlfriend means having a girlfriend's troubles too. This is called the blissful and sweet troubles." Xie Shangzhou quickly replied with a series of crying emojis. Ignoring him, Lin Jiej put down his phone. How could a 10,000-year bachelor who couldn't even meet the girl he liked mock him? Lin Jiej stretched out his arms and pulled Shiyao into his embrace. Even if he was a man defeated by his period, so what? In the long night, he still had Soft Bun to hug him to sleep, but Shirlai could only hug him tightly in loneliness. Ha! Imagining this scene, Lin Jiej couldn't help but burst into laughter. He buried his head in the crook of Shiyao's neck and closed his eyes in satisfaction. It was already 4:00 in the afternoon when he returned to school from the hot spring resort. Shiyao and Lin Jiej had agreed to have a barbecue with each other that night, but on the way back, Lin Jiej suddenly received a call saying that he had an important client to meet. As much as Shiyao wanted to eat roasted meat, she was still a reasonable person and chose to have rice noodles at the canteen. She told Lin Jiej to get back to his work. It was already December, and there was only a month left before the final exam. In order to prevent herself from getting flustered before the examination, Shiyao headed to the library in advance to do some revision. Chapter 810. There were quite a few students in the library who were still studying. Afraid that she would disturb them, Shiyao stealthily walked out of the library with her phone in hand, and only when she reached the end of the corridor did she press the answer button. Just as she raised the phone to her ear, Lin Jiej's voice sounded from the other side, "Yao Yao, where are you?" "Studying in the library." Shiyao paused for a moment. Hearing the commotion on Lin Jia's end, she asked, "Why is it so noisy on your end?" "Oh, there's someone playing basketball by the side." Before Shuyao could ask anything else, Lin Jie continued. "I'm back in school. I'm at the rostrum in the field. You want me to look for you?" Shuyao asked half-jokingly. Unexpectedly, Lin Jie replied with an without the slightest hesitation. Shuyao was speechless for a moment before replying, "All right then. Give me a moment." After hanging up the call, Shuyao made a trip to the washroom before returning to the library. The library was still full a moment ago, but while she was out answering the call, half of the crowd had disappeared. Are the students of G University so lazy these days? With such thoughts in mind, Shuyao tidied up her books. Just as she was about to leave the library with her books in hand, she realized that another half of the crowd had disappeared. It seems like the students of G University are really not as diligent these days. Remembering that Lin Jie was waiting for her in the field, Shuyao didn't dwell on this unimportant question for too long and left. While she was walking out of the library, another group of people also left the library, and some of them even overtook her. On the way from the library to the field, Shuyao happened to pass by the school supermarket, so she went in and bought 2 bottles of drinks. When she came out, she saw that there were many people running out from the school buildings and dormitories. Shuyao looked in the direction of the crowd, and just like her, they were all heading toward the school field. Could it be that the students of G University had fallen in love with training at night instead of working hard? When did the overall quality of the top students become so high? Shuyao opened a bottle of drinks and sipped on it as she made her way to the field. By the time she arrived, there were already many people gathered in the field. Perplexed, Shuyao scanned the crowd around her while occasionally saying, "Excuse me, I'm passing by," as she squeezed her way toward the rostrum. It wasn't easy for her to squeeze her way to the rostrum, but Shuyao couldn't find Lin Jie anywhere. Just as she was about to take out her phone to give Lin Jie a call, someone suddenly tapped on her shoulder. "Junior, you're here." Shuyao turned around and saw Lu Benlai, whose shaved head was reflecting the light of the night. Suppressing the urge to laugh whenever she saw Lu Benlai, she asked, "Where's Lin Jie?" "Our boss has some matters to attend to, so he'll be leaving for a while. He told me to tell you to wait for him here," Lu Benlai said as he glanced at the textbooks in Shuyao's embrace. "Little Junior, do you need me to hold those books for you?" Shuyao lowered her head to look at the 3 books in her embrace and shook her head. "There's no need for that. Why don't you give it to me? I have other uses for your hand later on." Shuyao didn't quite understand the latter half of Lu Benlai's words, so she blinked her eyes and asked, "What?" Chapter 8:11. When Shuyao was halfway done with her drink, Lin Jie still hadn't appeared. She couldn't help but ask Lu Benlai, "Where did Lin Jie go?" Lu Benlai raised his phone to take a look at the time. Seeing that it was about time, he pointed to the front and said, "Little Junior, look over there." Shuyao followed Lu Benlai's line of sight and saw that someone had placed a projection cloth on the pitch-black rostrum. She was just about to ask Lu Benlai, "What's that for?" In the end, they saw a pen appear on the projection cloth. The pen was drawing rapidly. In the blink of an eye, a scene appeared on the projection cloth. It was an elevator. There were a lot of people, and among them, there was a man and a woman. The drawing was rather exquisite, but the other figures were simply drawn. When the drawing was completed, Shuyao could clearly see that the man and woman were looking at each other. Then, the brush that had been drawing earlier landed on an empty space by the side and wrote a sentence, "Nice to meet you." What a pair of mesmerizing eyes. The painting stood still for about 10 seconds, and the projection cloth went blank again. It was the same brush, and it started drawing once more. The noisy field gradually quietened down. Eventually, Shuyao, who was standing at the very front, could hear the rustling of the brush on the paper. In the picture this time, there was still a girl and a boy, but they were in different scenes. What was similar was that they were both holding a cell phone in their hands, and on the screen of the cell phone, there were 8 words, "Great luck, chicken dinner." Just like the first picture, after the entire picture was drawn, there was still a line of words in the blank space. Fate caused us to meet in different worlds. Soon, the third drawing continued. It was a forest, and there was a man and a woman. Even though the drawing was very vague, it was clear from their expressions that they were in the midst of an argument. In the blank space of this drawing, there were only 3 words, "I'm sorry." The fourth drawing was a man and a woman admiring the sunset at the top of a mountain. In the blank space of this drawing, there were the words, "The most beautiful thing isn't the scenery but you." The fifth picture was of a man and a woman talking on the phone in different places. In the blank space of this picture was written, "I like you. I'm serious. I really like you." In the sixth picture, a girl was asleep and a guy was secretly kissing her. In the blank space of this picture, it was written, "Nice to meet you, the girl I like." In the seventh picture, there was only one boy and no girl. The caption next to it was, "After separating from you, there is only one thing that matters to me, goodbye. See you next time." In the eighth picture, there were no boys, only a girl with a beautiful smile. In front of the girl was a small mountain of snacks, fruits, and all kinds of delicious food. Beside it were the words, "For the rest of my life, I will accompany you to eat, 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 eat." In the ninth picture, there were no boys or girls. Instead, it was a scenery with blue sky and white clouds, a cool breeze and hundreds of flowers, a bright moon and stars. The accompanying words were, "The blue sky accompanies the white clouds, the cool breeze accompanies the flowers, the bright moon accompanies the stars, and I will always be with you." When the 10th image appeared, the pen didn't move for a long time. A voice came from the projection cloth that had been quiet all this time. "There's a code word. I wonder if you understand it." Chapter 8:12. Others might not be able to understand it, but Xiuyao understood the meaning behind those 3 words. The third painting was the one where he wrote his apology. It was a painting of him ignoring her after she asked him to cancel their engagement. Just as she was thinking of how she should rush him, he asked her out to the small forest. That was the first time they had met in private in 6 years after their engagement was forced, and it was also the first time they had argued. That day, he had been very unhappy when he first arrived. Initially, she didn't understand what was going on, and she didn't want to argue with him either. However, when he ruined 4 pieces of her cake, she angrily told him that she didn't like him at all. Perhaps because he had been humiliated by her words, his reply was just as vicious and merciless. He said, "Today, I'll leave my words here for you. Listen carefully. I, Lin Jiej, do not break off my engagement with you, will write my name upside down." Back then, she had thought that it was impossible for them to be together, and he must have thought so too. But as time passed, from spring to winter, the 2 of them ended up walking together. The projection screen on the rostrum had already been extinguished, but Xiuyao was still staring at it with her head tilted upward. The paintings that had appeared on the projection screen earlier could still be seen clearly before her eyes. Those were the testimonies of their journey together. Those were the bits and pieces of what had really happened between them. She had never turned her head back to look at them, but when she did, she realized that the 2 of them actually shared so many beautiful memories that were worth collecting. The quiet field gradually grew rowdy once more. Vaguely, Xiuyao could hear someone shouting, "Lin Jiej," snapping out of her daze. Xiuyao scanned her surroundings, and to her left, she saw Lin Jiej carrying a huge bouquet of roses. Quite a few students had gathered around to watch the show, and there were also some who were taking pictures or recording videos with their phones. Despite the commotion around him, Lin Jiej's gaze remained fixed on Shuryao's face. He had removed the casual attire he had worn during the day and was now wearing a formal white shirt and a black trench coat that reached his calves. He walked towards her step by step. Under the dim light of the sports field, Shuryao watched as Lin Jiej drew closer and closer to her, and for a moment, she felt as if she was a princess in a fairy tale, watching her Prince Charming slowly walk into her life. He stopped in front of her about 1 meter away. The handsome him stared at her for a moment, then moved his lips. Yao Yao, I have turned my name upside down. Are you willing to change your previous thought? Shuryao knew that Lin Jiej was referring to the idea of annulling their engagement. She looked back into his eyes and nodded. Yes, I do. Then, can we get to know each other again? Nice to meet you, Shuryao. My name is Lin Jiej, but you can also call me Gujalin. As Lin Jiej spoke, he extended his arms toward Shuryao. Amused by Lin Jiej's words, Shuryao couldn't help but burst into laughter, but at the same time, she couldn't help but tear up. Chapter 8:13. Not too far away, amidst the crowd, Liang Mumu couldn't help but clench her fists tightly as she stared at the couple hugging each other. Did her cousin, Liang Jusi, call her over to G University's field just to let her witness this sight? The one who called her over wasn't her cousin, Liang Jusi, but the male lead of the couple, Lin Jiej. He knew that she liked him, and he also knew that she had always been at odds with Shuryao, so he called her over to make her suffer. Did he really like Shuryao that much? But wasn't he disdainful of Shuryao from the very start? She clearly hated Shuryao very much. She had hidden herself by Shuryao's side for so many years just in case, so that she could strike a fatal blow at Shuryao. But after so many years of scheming, why did the two of them still end up together in the end? She couldn't accept this. She couldn't accept this. She couldn't accept such an ending. She wouldn't allow them to be together just like that. Even if she had to put her life on the line, she wouldn't allow them to be together. With such thoughts in mind, a cold glint flashed across Liang Mumu's eyes. There were simply too many people gathered at the field. It was already 11 at night, and it was about time for the dormitory rooms to be locked. Yet, more than half of the students were still fooling around in the field. As such, the dormitory management Andy reported this matter to the school leaders, and the head of the academic affairs office led security guards over with a loudspeaker to disperse the students in the field. Seeing that the head had arrived, the students didn't dare to stay any longer and quickly dispersed. However, the head of the academic affairs office didn't intend to leave empty-handed. Instead, he pointed to the culprit who had caused this mess, Lin Jiej, and had him follow him to his office. Hugging a huge bouquet of roses, Shuryao quickly made a request, "Teacher, can you bring me along as well?" Even if Lin Jiej were to be punished, he wanted to be punished together with her. Could they be considered a pair of bitter lovebirds? However, the head of the academic affairs office didn't intend to grant this pair of bitter lovebirds their wish. "What are you doing here? You should return to your dormitory room and rest." Shuryao shook her head as she looked at the department head pleadingly. She held on to Lin Jiej's hand tightly, unwilling to let go no matter what. Lin Jiej and Shuryao had always performed outstandingly in the academy, so the leader recognized them. Besides, there were no rules in the academy that forbade students from dating, so the leader didn't intend to make things difficult for them. However, seeing that Shuryao was insistent on this matter, he waved his hand dismissively and said, "Forget it. You can follow me, but wait for him outside the office." "All right. Thank you, Leader Lin." With a bouquet in one hand and Lin Jiej's hand in the other, Shuryao walked toward the office building. Along the way, Shuryao would occasionally raise her head and smile at Lin Jiej. At first, the leader and the students were shouting at them, so he didn't feel that there was a problem. But in the end, there was no one else on the road except for the three of them. The leader looked at the two of them who didn't care about him at all and suddenly felt that he was an extra. When they arrived at the office building, Shiryao obediently stopped in front of it and said, "I'll wait for you here." Lin Jiej stroked Shiryao's head as he replied with a doting "mm." The leader standing on the side couldn't help but clear his throat when he saw this scene. Chapter 8:14. It was already early winter, so the temperature was still rather cold at night. Lin Jiej glanced at the thin clothes Shiryao was wearing, and after a moment's thought, he took off his coat and draped it over Shiryao's shoulders. The head of the Education Bureau couldn't bear to look at the sight, so he quickly turned his head away and said, "Lin Jiej, hurry up," before entering the office building. After draping the coat over Shiryao's shoulders, Lin Jiej took the opportunity to pat her cheeks lightly before entering the office building as well. After Lin Jiej entered, Shiryao placed the huge bouquet of roses on the balcony in the garden, and while sipping on her drink, she began counting the flowers with her head lowered. 1, 2, 3, 4. 47, 48, Shiryao. Hearing someone calling out to her, Shiryao instinctively turned her head over, and when she saw who it was, the smile on her face disappeared, and she straightened her back. Senior Han. Han Jing stared at Shiryao for a moment before lifting his leg and taking a few more steps toward her. Under the light from the office building, Shiryao felt that there was something strange about Han Jing's expression, but she couldn't pinpoint what it was. When Han Jing stopped roughly a meter away from her, Shiryao finally spoke up once more, "Senior Han, did you call for me?" Han Jing wasn't in a hurry to reply to Shiryao's question. Instead, he glanced at the beautiful roses by the side before asking a question that he already knew the answer to, "Are you together with Lin Jiej?" Shiryao, who had openly rejected Han Jing back then, didn't try to hide anything from him anymore. She told him honestly, "We're together now." Han Jing didn't say anything. Shiryao didn't know what to say either. The silence between the two of them made Shiryao feel a little uncomfortable. She subconsciously found an excuse to leave. "Senior Han, I need to use the washroom, so I'll be leaving first." As she spoke, Shiryao bent down to pick up the bouquet of roses and prepared to head back into the office building. But barely after she took a few steps, Han Jing suddenly called out to her. "Shiryao." Shiryao halted her footsteps. This time, before she could say anything, Han Jing continued, "You've always been on good terms with me. I want to ask you, back then, did you like me a little?" Shiryao frowned. Why would Senior Han ask such a question? Did I do something wrong to give him such a misconception? Han Jing stared at Shiryao for a moment before asking, "If not for Lin Jiej, would you still be with me?" "Senior Han, I think you might have misunderstood something. In the beginning, I only treated you as a friend because you're from Tian's hometown, but after I learned of your feelings for me, I decided to sever all ties with you. It's not because you're a bad person, but because I can't give you what you want. If I've done anything that has caused you to misunderstand me, I'll apologize to you right now. As for what happened between us, it really has nothing to do with Lin Jiej. Without him, I wouldn't have gotten together with you. Do you really think so?" Chapter 8:15. Han Jing didn't say anything else. Shiryao couldn't help but feel that Han Jing was getting weirder and weirder. But soon, Han Jing nodded and turned around to leave without saying a word. Looking at Han Jing's departing figure, Shiryao couldn't help but feel a little uneasy. However, it didn't take long for that uneasy feeling to linger in her heart. Suddenly, someone hugged her from behind, and she fell into a familiar embrace. Knowing that it was Lin Jiej, Shiryao didn't avoid him. Instead, she raised her head to look at him. Lin Jiej was taller than her in the first place, and he was standing a step behind her. As such, he was much taller than her. Lowering his head, he easily kissed her on the lips. Note, for the sake of speaking out of turn, a guy kissing a girl who raises her head from behind is a beautiful sight. You guys can imagine it yourselves. However, they were still in front of the office building, so Lin Jiej didn't dare to go too far. He quickly let go of Shuyao and took a step down to grab her hand. As they walked toward the dormitory building, he asked, "Why were you in a daze when I came out earlier?" Lin Jiej's words reminded Shuyao of Han Jing once more. However, she felt that she was overthinking things. To her, Han Jing had always been a decent senior. She couldn't just accuse him without any reason. So, Shuyao shook her head and said, "It's nothing much." However, lying was the one thing that Shuyao wasn't good at, so she couldn't help but feel a little guilty. After replying to Lin Jiej, she turned around and asked, "Right, you didn't meet any clients today, right?" Lin Jiej replied with an "Were you the ones who spread the news about the students running toward the field?" Lin Jiej replied with another However, he didn't dare let Shuyao know that his motive was to destroy G University's peach blossoms. In other words, you were intentionally hiding it from me. Shuyao's voice was filled with indignation. Isn't that to give you a surprise? Is there a surprise to speak of? Oh, you're right, do you like the surprise then? I do. But I'm a little sad too, I didn't get to eat the roast meat. Lin Jiej, it's getting late, and you still have lessons tomorrow morning, so you should return to your dormitory room to rest. I'll bring you out for a meal another day, alright? Alright then. A smile crept up Shuyao's face. A moment later, a thought suddenly struck her mind, and she exclaimed, "We're doomed." Lin Jiej immediately tensed up. What's wrong? I bought 2 bottles, and one of them was for you. Back then, when I was looking at you drawing, I got too distracted, so I finished my bottle and finished yours. Well, I bought 2 bottles, and one of them was for you. Back then, when I was watching you drawing, I got too distracted, so I finished my bottle and yours too. Lin Jiej, what could he do? Even if his girlfriend drank all the drinks she bought for him, what could he do? It's fine. Lin Jiej consoled her generously. Shouldn't Shuyao be the one consoling him instead? Why did he have to comfort her after she drank his drink? With this thought in mind, Lin Jiej pinched Shuyao's cheeks and said, "If you like it, drink it all. It's just a bottle of soft drink." Shuyao burst into laughter. Chapter 8:16. Make it public. Isn't what we're doing considered public? His actions tonight won't just be known by everyone in Master G, even the people in the neighboring schools will know about it, right? Shuyao frowned. Isn't this already big enough? I don't mean for the entire world to know about it. Let's just post it on our Moments page. Lin Jiej paused for a moment before adding confidently, Yao, you should know that I'm still unable to return to my home." Lin Jiej's words reminded Shuyao of how he'd fabricated such a melodramatic story in order to set her free back then, resulting in him being chased out of the family by Grandpa Lin. Since her boyfriend was in trouble, she couldn't just stand by idly. So, Shuyao took out her phone and said, "Alright then, let's post it on our Moments page. I've added Sis Jia's WeChat, so if she sees it, it'll mean that Grandpa has seen it too. After that, you'll be able to return home." After tapping into WeChat and entering her Moments page, Shuyao looked at Lin Jiej worriedly and asked, "How are we going to do it?" Lin Jiej pondered for a moment before replying with, "Wait a moment," before heading into the school forum. Just as he had guessed, the forum was already flooded with the scene of him confessing to Shuyao. He casually tapped into a few threads and scanned through them. Eventually, he found the clearest and prettiest photo of him and Xiao and saved it. He entered his Moments page and uploaded the photo. After a moment of contemplation, he typed, "I like Kings of Glory in PUBG, but I like you in all forms more." After which, he sent it over. After sending it over, he sent the photo over to Xiao. Following Lin Jie's instructions, Xiao uploaded the photo to her Moments page as well. After which, she bit on her finger and pondered for a moment before typing, "A young lady's love is always eating with Lin Jie," and sending it over. That night, Lin Jie returned to his bed after his bath. He picked up his phone and entered his Moments page, only to realize that Xiao's Moments page was much livelier than his own. Expert of the Monkeys, liked and replied, "Little Junior, you're calling the wrong person. It should be Jorglin." Juice, liked and replied, "Who is Lin Jie? If I don't know him, it means I only know Jorglin." I Love Li Yifeng, liked the post and replied, "My Adonis is Lin Jie, but Yao Yao's boyfriend is Gijalin." Lotus Leaves He Tian liked and replied, "Yao Yao, can you tell me why Senior Lin changed his name to Gijalin?" Lemon liked and replied, "Congratulations." Juice replied to Lemon, Goddess, followed by a perverted emoticon. Lin Jie scrolled through Xiao's Moments like page several times, but he wasn't able to find Lin Jie's figure at all. So, he turned to his own Moments page. Other than the likes and replies from his classmates and business partners, Lin Jie had to double-check several times, but he didn't see any likes or replies from his family. That shouldn't be the case. Going by the script, his Moments and WeChat should be exploding with activity. After all, the girl in the photo is the soft bun that he likes. Chapter 8:17. His father, Lin Gubei, was the first to reply. "Eat, sleep, beat son, I'm sorry, but your mom forbade me from giving you a like. Do you have to be such a henpecked husband? You're not a man at all." Lin Jie lampooned as he replied, "Dad, it's fine if you don't give me a like, but you should at least take a look, right? Eat, sleep, beat son, I'm sorry, but your mom forbade me from giving you a look. Less than 111,111, 111111, can't you just keep it a secret from my mom? Eat, sleep, beat son, that's fine." Lin Jie swiftly typed on the keyboard and typed a line of words, "Hurry up and take a look then." However, before he could send it out, a new message popped up on his screen. "Eat, sleep, beat son, but if your mom finds out about it, I'll die a horrible death. So, I think it's best if I don't take a look, forget it. Just look at my father's name. Eat, sleep, beat son, it's obvious that I can't rely on him." Lin Jie didn't reply to Lin Gubei's message and went straight to Uncle Xia Yang's message. "Shui Yang Yang, what's a Moments page?" Lin Jie, left with no choice, he could only give up and check out Lin Gunnan's message. 20 kilograms slimmer, I liked it. Lin Jie took a look at his Moments page, and sure enough, his aunt had given him a like. But wasn't his aunt's reaction a little too calm? Or was she too agitated? Lin Jie asked tentatively, "Aunt, what do you think of my WeChat Moments? 20 kilograms slimmer, my internet speed is too slow. I can't open your photo." Lin Jie could only place his hopes on Jiang Wangui and Lin Jie. However, the two ladies still hadn't replied to his WeChat message yet. Lin Jie pondered for a moment and decided to take the initiative once more. He sent a message to Jiang Wangui, "Mom, this time." Jiang Wangui replied, "I don't have a son like you." It was fortunate that he had managed to woo Soft Bun. If he hadn't, he wouldn't have been able to clear up that story. Lin Jie felt that it was best not to beat around the bush with his mother, so he typed out a message, Mom, I'm with Shuyao now. There's proof on my Moments page. Can you take a look? Lin Jiej tapped on the send button, and a WeChat notification popped up. I'm sorry, the other party isn't your friend. Please add him as your friend first before chatting. Of the 7 people in the family, Lin Jiej, who was already despised by 4 of them, doubted his life for less than 10 seconds before he rushed off to look for Lin Jiai. It wouldn't be easy to deal with the others, but in any case, Lin Jiai was a piece of cake. With this thought in mind, Lin Jiej began sending out red packets. No one accepted the first red envelope. Lin Jiej continued sending. He received the second red packet, and so did the first one, but Lin Jiai simply ignored him. Lin Jiej continued sending. After Lin Jiai accepted 10 red packets from him in one go, she replied, I can't see your Moments page. How's that possible? His moments are visible to everyone. Just as this thought flashed across Lin Jiej's mind, he suddenly remembered that he had blocked Lin Jiai from his Moments page out of fear that she would ruin his plans. Lin Jiai, I just checked your WeChat on the GPS, and I can see your Moments page. Did you block me? Chapter 8:18. Lin Jiai was his final straw of hope. Even if he had offended her, he had no choice but to kneel down and beg for her back. With this thought in mind, Lin Jiej continued sending red packets. 1, 2, 3. 10. Aw. It seemed like Lin Jiai was really angry this time around. To think that she would be able to resist the temptation of money. However, he didn't believe that she would be able to resist the temptation of even more money. So, Lin Jiej decided to transfer the money directly. Each transaction was worth 20,000 renminbi. Here are 100 red packets. Another 100 red packets. Another 100 red packets. After Lin Jiej transferred the money 10 times, Lin Jiai finally started collecting the money. When all of the money was in Lin Jiai's pocket, a message finally appeared on the screen. That was the price of my forgiveness. As for the price of asking for my help, you'll have to pay it again. Lin Jiej transferred a red packet worth 1,000 red packets over and asked, Is it enough? Lin Jiai accepted the money and said, Tell me, what do you need my help with? Lin Jiej released Lin Jiai from the little black room in his Moments and replied, I just need you to show me the first photo in my Moments to Grandpa. A minute later, Lin Jiai, on account that you managed to get Yao Yao back, give me another 1,000 red packets, and I'll reluctantly agree to help you. Gritting his teeth, Lin Jiej sent another 1,000 red packets over. Lin Jiai sent a deal emoji, and after receiving the money, she sent a thank you boss emoji. Lin Jiej ignored Lin Jiai. After putting down his phone, he carefully recalled the family's attitude toward him tonight. Then, he picked up his phone again and sent a message to Shuyao, Yao Yao, I realize that the person who treats me the best in this world is you. Shuyao replied swiftly with a blushing emoji. Then, she sent another message, remember to reserve a spot for tomorrow's roast meat. He sent her such a sentimental and emotional message. Shouldn't she be concerned about him? Why is she worried about my roast meat instead? Lin Jiej rubbed his chest in distress. He wanted to be alone, and he didn't want to bother with anyone for the time being. Ding dong. His phone rang. Shuyao, how about 6:30 p.m.? I'm too early, so I might not have the time. Lin Jiej instantly replied, sure. I'll make a reservation as soon as the rotisserie opens tomorrow. The next day, Lin Jiej wasn't woken up by his alarm but by Shuyao's phone call. After he answered the call, he called out, Yao Yao. Then he sat up and leaned against the headboard before asking, what's wrong? Lin Jiej, there's something I need to tell you. Grandpa Lin is here to look for me, Grandpa Lin, Grandpa Lin. Recalling what he had asked Lin Jie to do for him last night, Lin Jie immediately snapped out of his daze and asked, "What did Grandpa talk to you about?" On. Shi Yao seemed to be organizing her words. After a moment of silence, she said, "It's like this. Before I could even wake up this morning, I received a call from Grandpa Lin. He said that he's already on his way to school to look for me, and he asked if I had the time to have breakfast with him. I definitely said yes. Then, after booking the location, I hung up the phone, hurriedly washed my face and brushed my teeth before going to look for Grandpa Lin. As soon as Grandpa Lin saw me, he asked me." Chapter 8:19. Lin Jie couldn't help but ask, "What did Grandpa ask you?" He asked me. On the other end of the phone, Shi Yao stuttered for a long while before she finally replied with a soft voice. "He asked me if there's anything between us." Lin Jie was taken aback for a moment. He first replied with a doubtful, before replying with an "oh." In contrast to Shi Yao's embarrassment, Lin Jie was much calmer. "How did you reply to Grandpa?" "I told him honestly that there's nothing between us." After hearing those words, Grandpa Lin was overjoyed. He heaved a long sigh of relief and told me that it's good that there's nothing between us. After that, Grandpa Lin sternly told me not to get together with you. Of course, I wouldn't listen to Grandpa Lin's words. I asked him why, but Grandpa Lin refused to tell me. So, I told him that I only wanted to be together with you. After that, Grandpa Lin started scolding you. He said that you were a bastard and that I should marry anyone but you. Lin Jie didn't want to say anything else. It was obvious who was the biological son of Lin Jie. Shi Yao was probably the Lin family's little princess, and he was probably picked up from the streets. Of course I wouldn't listen to Grandpa Lin's words. But Grandpa Lin has always doted on me, so I thought that as long as I acted coquettishly, Grandpa Lin would surely give in to me. However, the more I acted coquettishly, the sadder Grandpa Lin got. In the end, Grandpa Lin told me that I would be wronged if I were to be together with you, and that I would have to raise someone else's son. I was still a little perplexed as to why Grandpa Lin would say such a thing, so I asked him about it. It was only then that I realized that Grandpa Lin was referring to the story you made up back then, so I helped you clarify it. At this point, Shi Yao's tone suddenly became relaxed and gleeful. I told Grandpa Lin that you were lying to him. That night, you were with me, and there wasn't any pregnant woman at all. The reason you did that was to free me. Hearing those words, a chill ran down Lin Jie's spine. His initial plan was to let his grandfather know that he was together with Soft Bun. Once his grandfather, who had blocked his number, came to look for him, he would be able to tell his grandfather that he had figured out the truth and that it was all a misunderstanding that night. He didn't have sex with that woman at all, and it was the woman who had lied to him in hopes of becoming a phoenix. But now, everything was over. Soft Bun had spilled the beans. Grandfather should be even more furious now, right? On the other end of the call, Shi Yao waited for a moment, but before Lin Jie's voice could be heard, she spoke up once more. "Lin Jie, aren't I the best? I helped you clear your name in front of Grandpa Lin." Suppressing the pain in his heart, Lin Jie replied, "You're the best. You're the best." He. Shi Yao burst into laughter on the other end of the call. Hearing her laughter, Lin Jie felt like crying. "Well, I'm about to go to class. I can't talk to you anymore." After saying those words, Shi Yao hung up the call, probably because she was in a hurry. A moment later, Lin Jie received a message from Shi Yao. "Right, I forgot to tell you. Before Grandpa Lin left, he said that he wanted to pay you a visit." Lin Jie's heart skipped a beat. In the next second, he leaped out of his bed, intending to run away. Chapter 820. Lin Jie's heart skipped a beat. In the next second, he leaped out of his bed and prepared to run away. However, as soon as he got dressed and walked to the door, he heard someone banging on the door. It can't be that my grandfather is here already, right? Just as this thought flashed across Lin Jie's mind, through the door, he heard his grandfather's booming voice echoing from the corridor, "Brat, open the door." Lin Jie's body trembled, and the shoes he had just taken out from the shoe cabinet fell to the floor with a loud paw. "Open the door, brat, open the door. It's impossible to open the door. Perhaps I should just play dead and create the illusion that I'm not at home at all. At most, I'll just have my grandfather bellow angrily outside the door for a while. In any case, I'll have to leave sooner or later." With this thought in mind, Lin Jie straightened his body and prepared to return to his bedroom to put on his noise-canceling earphones and continue sleeping. "Brat, stop playing dead in there. I know you're in there. Before I went upstairs, I went to your security department to check the security footage, and I know that you haven't left since you came in last night." Lin Jie's leisurely walk nearly caused him to kneel on the floor. Holy shit. What else could he say? Is that even possible? My grandfather sure came prepared. All he could say was that the older the ginger, the wiser the ginger. "Brat, I'll count to 3. If you don't come out by then, I'll have to resort to some unconventional means." Lin Jie rubbed his trembling eardrums as he rushed to the window. Opening the window, he looked down, to the 21st floor. Even before jumping down, he was already feeling a little dizzy. This wasn't the Lin family old residence. Jumping down from the 2nd floor wouldn't be a problem, but if he were to jump down from the 20th floor, Soft Bun would probably become a widow. 1, 2, 3. Grandpa Lin had already counted to 3, but seeing that the door wasn't opening, he began pounding on it once more. "Brat, don't you dare challenge my limits. I'll count to 3. If you still don't open the door, don't blame me for getting nasty." Judging from the old emperor's voice, he seemed to be on the verge of losing his temper. If he were to really infuriate the old man, he wouldn't just be unable to return home but his name would be erased from the genealogy. However, given the current situation, if he were to open the door, he would definitely be beaten up. He had to think of a way to protect himself. Lin Jie bit on his finger for a moment before whipping out his phone. At this very moment, the only one who could save him was Soft Bun. But Soft Bun was currently in class, so how was he supposed to get her over? He couldn't just send her a "save me" message. That would be too damaging to his identity and dignity. In just 3 short seconds, Lin Jie had already sent a message to Shuyao. "Secretary Zhang, I might not be able to attend the meeting today. I'm suffering from diarrhea, and I'm feeling so weak that I can't even move from my bed right now. I need you to inform the vice president to have him handle some important matters in my place today." After sending the message, Lin Jie ignored Grandpa Lin's shout of 1, 2, 3 as he stared intently at his phone screen. It was only when the words, "the other party is currently typing," appeared above that Lin Jie realized that Shuyao had seen his message. Feigning that he had sent the wrong message, he swiftly retracted his message. Chapter 821. Perhaps it was because Lin Jie was ignoring her, but she soon sent another message over. "Lin Jie, are you doing well? Did something happen to you? Don't scare me like that. Lin Jie." Following which, his phone suddenly received a call. It was from Shuyao. Of course he wouldn't pick it up. After all, Soft Bun wouldn't be able to rush over. His phone vibrated for a moment before it finally quieted down. Following which, he received another message from Shuyao. "I'm going to request a leave of absence from my teacher so that I can visit you. You must be well, you must be well." Looking at Shuyao's final message, Lin Jie felt a surge of sweetness in his heart. His Soft Bun was just that considerate. Brat, you've grown up, haven't you? Fine, since you refuse to open the door, don't open it then. Grandpa Lin was clearly on the verge of going berserk. Auntie Sun. Old mister, calm down. Perhaps the young master really isn't at home. If he isn't at home, then where is he? He didn't even go out. Could he have grown wings and flown away through the window? After shouting at Auntie Sun, Grandpa Lin banged on the door a few more times. That brat, does he really think that I can't do anything to him? Auntie Sun, give me a call and have someone come over to weld this door shut. If he wants to stay in there, let him stay there for the rest of his life. That won't do, old Mr. Lin, why not? What do you mean by that? Even I don't think that I can't do anything to my grandson, so why can't you? Auntie Sun, if you don't give me a call, I'll pry open the door and weld both of you together in there. Old mister, please calm down. I'll make the call right now. I'll make the call right now, following which, Auntie Sun's voice sounded from outside the door. Lin Jiej knew that if his grandfather were to really get angry, he might really weld him to death in this room. Of course, he couldn't weld him for the rest of his life, but it was still possible that he could lock him up for a few days. He wouldn't allow his grandfather to lock him up here, but he didn't open the door right away either. After all, it would take some time for Soft Bun to rush over, and it would also take some time for Auntie Sun to call someone over as well. Thus, he could afford to wait a little longer. Feigning as if he hadn't heard the commotion outside, he returned to his bedroom and lay down for a while. Estimating that Soft Bun would be arriving in around 10 minutes, he slowly got up and walked to the bathroom. Facing the mirror, he scratched his head and rubbed his eyelids, turning his double eyelids into a triple eyelid. After making sure that he looked as if he had just woken up, he dragged his slippers and headed for the door. He knew who was outside the door, but he pretended not to know and asked, "Who is it?" "Me. Grandfather, why are you here?" As Lin Jiej spoke, he took a step back before stretching out his arm to open the door. When Grandpa Lin barged in furiously from the outside, Lin Jiej, who had already taken a step back, hurriedly took another step back, dodging Grandpa Lin's incoming cane. Fortunately, he had been beaten up many times when he was young, so he gained experience from it. If the crutch really came down, his head would definitely be injured. Chapter 822. Grandpa Lin, who had been knocking on the door for so long, couldn't possibly be bothered with Lin Jiej at all. Seeing that the latter had dodged his first strike, he mercilessly swung his crutch a second time. Lin Jiej swiftly dodged it. "Grandfather, what's wrong? Why are you so angry?" Grandpa Lin didn't say a word as he chased after Lin Jiej with his crutch. Lin Jiej dodged to the left and right. "Grandfather, you're already so old. Aren't you afraid of spraining your back? Auntie Sun, why are you still standing there? Hurry up and pour me a cup of water," Auntie Sun sighed in response before making her way to the kitchen. "You're not allowed to pour." Grandpa Lin roared furiously. Left with no choice, Auntie Sun could only stop. "Grandfather, I told Auntie Sun to pour you a cup of water. Why aren't you getting a cup of water for yourself?" Seeing the crutch flying toward him, Lin Jiej hurriedly hid behind Auntie Sunday. "Young master, you should just apologize to old mister. Let me tell you, no one will be able to save you. I secretly called sir and madam for you earlier, and madam said that old mister can call you if you want to. It's not like you've ever done so before. Sir said that you're right, madam is right." She immediately hung up on me. I also called young miss and young master Lin, but they said that they're not in Beijing. As for young miss, she said that she's busy earning money and doesn't have the time to bother with you. So, young master, you should quickly think of a way to apologize to old mister. It's not that I don't want to apologize, but I don't know what's wrong with me. I just woke up, and grandfather came to beat me up. While dodging Grandpa Lin Jiej spoke as innocently as he could. Grandfather, even if you want to punish me, you should at least give me a reason. You can't just barge into my house and beat me up like that. He was stalling for time. As long as he could stall for time, he would be safe. Fine. Since you want a reason, I'll give you one then. In the end, Grandpa Lin was getting on in years. He was no match for Lin Jiej, so he was already panting heavily after chasing after him for a while. Auntie Sun hurriedly walked forward and patted Grandpa Lin's back. Old mister, do you really need to get so angry? After Grandpa Lin calmed down, he turned to Auntie Sun and said, You'll know how infuriating you are when you have a grandson as shameless as him. Then, he pointed his cane at Lin Jiej and bellowed furiously, Let me ask you, I've been knocking on your door for a long time now, so why didn't you open it for me? Of course, he had to feign innocence. With such thoughts in mind, Lin Jiej replied with a dazed look in his eyes, I was sleeping, I didn't hear anything, hee. Old Mr. Lin laughed coldly. I'll settle this score with you later. I'll start with the big one. Let me ask you, where's that pregnant little lover of yours? Grandpa, I was thinking of finding a time to go home and apologize to you. Chapter 8:23. It would have been fine if Grandpa Lin hadn't brought it up, but the moment he did, he couldn't help but recall how he had thought that Lin Jiej had really done something foolish back then. He was angry at him for being a disappointment, but at the same time, he felt terrible for having no choice but to let Xiuyao go. During that period of time, he couldn't eat or sleep well, and he was constantly sighing. Just thinking about how his beloved granddaughter-in-law, whom he was so close to getting his hands on, was gone just like that, his blood pressure rose rapidly. He really liked Xiuyao. He had built up his family from scratch at a young age, and he had seen far too many people. While he didn't dare claim that his eyes were sharp, he was still able to tell who was a good child and who was a bad one. For example, his neighbor, Liang Mumu, had always been a troublemaker. On the other hand, Xiuyao had truly treated him well. In the past, he could still get Xiuyao to visit him, but now that his grandson had caused such a scandal, he couldn't bring himself to face Xiuyao anymore. Just a few days ago, when he was fishing with someone, he heard someone saying the word Yao. When he thought of Xiuyao, his heart ached so much that he almost cried. There were even a couple of times when he missed Xiuyao so much that he even sneaked over to Ji University to secretly visit Xiuyao. But, what happened in the end? It was all that bastard's fault. He didn't have a lover who was about to turn into a phoenix, and he didn't have a big belly either. Even if he had no choice but to do so in order to pursue Xiuyao, he could have just told him. As a grandfather, given how much he liked Yao Yao, he would surely help him. It would have been fine if he hadn't thought about it, but with such a thought in mind, Grandpa Lin didn't even want to give Lin Jiej a reason anymore. All he wanted to do was to raise his walking stick and give him a good beating. With such a thought in mind, Grandpa Lin made his move. He abruptly took a few steps forward before smashing his cane down on Lin Jiej. However, before his walking stick could land on Lin Jiej, a beep suddenly sounded from the door not too far away. Following which, the door was pushed open. Lin Jiej, hearing Xiuyao's voice, Lin Jiej knew that he was completely safe. He didn't even bother dodging. Instead, he raised his head and whispered to Grandpa Lin, Grandfather, Yao Yao is here. Old Master Lin's acupoints seemed to have been sealed. His crutch was raised in midair, motionless. Lin Jiej. Worried about Lin Jiej, Xiuyao changed into her slippers and ran into the room. However, upon seeing Grandpa Lin Jiej, and Auntie Sun, she suddenly halted her footsteps and exclaimed, Grandpa Lin, Auntie Sun. You are here too. After greeting Grandpa Lin, Yao turned her gaze to the walking stick in Grandpa Lin's hand and asked, "Grandpa Lin, what are you doing?" After hearing Yao's words, the furious old Mr. Lin took in a deep breath before putting on a radiant smile. As he spoke, old Master Lin raised his walking stick and twirled it in a circle as though he were slicing a large watermelon. "I'm practicing Tai Chi. I was too tired from the ride earlier, and my waist hurts." "Oh, I see." Yao took 2 steps forward without any hesitation. "Grandpa, you should take a seat first. I'll massage your waist for you. You're already old, so it's not convenient for you to do this." Chapter 8:24. After listening to his grandfather's words, Lin Jiej watched as Yao walked past him, walked up to his grandfather, and really sat down to chat with him. "Isn't Soft Bun here to visit me? Why isn't she concerned about me at all?" Lin Jiej took a step forward, allowing himself to appear in Yao's field of vision. A minute passed. 2 minutes passed. 3 minutes passed, but Yao still wasn't paying any attention to him. Lin Jiej's eyes darted around, and in the next second, he clutched his stomach and groaned. Grandpa Lin and Yao immediately turned their heads over. Grandpa Lin was still his grandson, so he couldn't help but feel a little worried upon seeing Lin Jiej in such a state. "What's wrong?" Yao quickly recovered from her daze and replied, "Oh, I forgot. Lin Jiej sent me a WeChat message this morning, saying that he has a stomachache and can't go to the company. However, he probably sent the wrong message to Secretary Zhang. I sent him a message, but he ignored me. I was worried about him, so I came over to visit him." With Grandpa Lin's intelligence, Yao's simple explanation immediately told him that Lin Jiej was the culprit behind all of this. He had tricked Yao into coming over to help him. Grandpa Lin's worried gaze turned into cold killing intent. Oblivious to the fact that there was nothing wrong with what she had just said, Yao took out the medicine in her bag and ran over to Lin Jiej's side. "Lin Jiej, how are you feeling? Are you still feeling unwell? Do you need me to accompany you to the hospital?" Lin Jiej avoided his grandfather's gaze and looked at Yao, who had caused him so much trouble. He tried his best to squeeze out a gentle smile and said, "I'm fine. I'm feeling much better now." His smile was so forced that Yao thought that he was feeling unwell. Worried for him, she said, "I don't think you're feeling too well. Let's go to the hospital. There's really no need for that." Lin Jiej paused for a moment before adding on, "I'm just feeling a little weak, so I want to sleep. I'll help you to your bedroom then." With such thoughts in mind, Yao turned to Grandpa Lin and said, "Grandpa Lin, Jiej is already in such a state, so he won't be able to accompany you today. Why don't you and Auntie Sun return first? I'll bring him back to visit you another day." Of course, Grandpa Lin knew that Lin Jiej was intentionally saying that he was going to sleep so that Yao could persuade him to return first. However, he couldn't bring himself to vent his anger in front of Yao, so he could only smile and say, "Sure, Yao, take care of him. I'll be heading back first." Yao helped Lin Jiej to his bedroom before sending Grandpa Lin off. After bidding farewell to Yao with a smile, Grandpa Lin stepped into the elevator, and his face immediately turned so cold that it seemed as if it would drip water at any moment. "No, I can't allow that brat to toy with me like that. I can't possibly stand idly by. Old mister, don't you like Miss Sher the most? You should be happy that Miss Sher is back." "I'm very happy, but I can't spare him either." At this point, old Master Lin's eyes suddenly lit up. "I know how to deal with him now. How do you treat it?" Auntie Sun asked curiously. "Use needles to treat it." "Sir, that won't do. You're not Nanny Rong. What are you thinking? Who wants to prick him with needles?" "I want to prick a condom with needles." Andy's son was at a loss for words. On the other hand, Grandpa Lin felt that his idea couldn't be any better. This way, Yao Yao will be pregnant, and he won't be able to do anything bad for the next 10 months. At the same time, I'll have a great-grandson to carry. This is killing two birds with one stone. You're tuning into the LoveLore Library YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.